Honestly, the best camera you own is the iPhone.
Yeah,
By
it
far
is.
the best camera. Almost
I don't know. How's my
everybody
camera?
owns.
Looks good.
It's not bad.
It looks really good, actually. I can't
This
do
is
that
this is
anymore.
like
shiny?
a big
Is
ass
this shiny?
Sony camera, like full up piece of glass.
Yeah, yeah. I
Wow.
mean, lighting is everything, as you're
Oh,
aware. And your lighting
actually,
is
come
less
to think of it, am I in sync? 1, 2,
Yeah, you're fine.
pretty close.
Yeah.
pretty. I think I'm out of sync a little bit.
You're just a
because of the-
little. Do this.
Yeah.
You're a little.
No, you got to make.
I mean,
when you do it, Robert, you got to make a noise. It's not just doing that.
I am here. How's this? Ready?
It's really
Right?
funny though. What
Is it in
makes you
sync
want
or not?
If you're in sync, why do you want to clap like a monkey? Normally people clap like this, but when you're doing the thing, you go like that, like a monkey claps.
Because you want to see the hands come together.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's like you're trying to like make sure that you can see, like not like, like here.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're if anything, it's a half a millisecond off. So
yeah.
It's
See, I
not-
can't have
no
the.
big
See, it's
deal.
funny you got the camera up high, which is the perfect place to have it because you look better.
I like high.
because I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you like high.
Yeah, can I mute my camera? And I never
I
did
know.
that for the audio, but yeah.
You can actually. You can reach down and click on your little. You can remove yourself at any time if you want. There's a button right over your picture. Are you able to remove yourself? Actually, I'm not sure.
Can I like go dark?
Well, you
Like,
can turn off your
Can
camera.
I come back like
No, at the very bottom, there's a button that says "Stop Cam" if you want to be off camera for a minute.
beautiful?
Yeah.
I'm
What
off
is
camera.
what is Robert doing now?
No, I'm on camera.
Yeah. No idea. Must be cutting his nails.
okay.
When I was years ago, when I used to go skiing with a mate of mine, he managed to score this stuff. We called it the Purple Death, and it looked like weed,
Sounds
but it
lovely.
was purple. And the last thing I remember was him. It was in the days before, like good materials. Everything you used to wear was full of down and stuff.
Hey
I
guys,
saw him coming
Are we
down
on the air,
slope.
by the way?
No, well,
Yeah, we're on the
live,
air, yeah.
but- yeah, but we're not recording.
yeah, we're live.
Okay.
There's 14
Hey,
people
everyone.
watching us right now.
Lovely.
So it looked like a high-speed dooner coming down the slope because he
Yeah.
had this huge coat. It looked like he was wrapped up in a dooner off his face and just going straight down the slope. No turning. I don't know
Texas
what sort of
style.
speed he hit, but it was pretty funny.
So, do you guys want to have anything special that shows up when you're talking on camera? A lower third, we like to call them, or a title bar, or
Oh, just a
Anything?
picture of George Clooney for me would be good. If you could do that, that'd be great.
such as that, as you can see.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to have anything unique to yourself?
I'm
actually,
good.
We could
Like-
actually just have a subtitle of the Pro Audio Suite, I guess, because
Just in general, you don't want to have your own individual names. Well, our names are visible on screen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
Don't need
Robert
to
just is. He's like Madonna. He only has one name.
yeah, he
Just
is.
Robert.
He is the Robert.
I'm Robert.
Yeah, yeah.
There is no other.
the Robert.
Yes.
Lady
Okay.
Robert.
All right. So
Robert the Robert instead of Robert the Bruce.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we do a cold open with everybody on screen, and I say, "Welcome to VoiceOver Body Shop." And we've got the guys from the Pro Audio Suite with us tonight. There's Robbo.
Ah, he's coming in, is he? Oh, yeah.
Well, we'll see in a second.
Dun,
Wait a
That's
second.
all right.
Oh,
Robbo's
geez.
got 5. Wee.
Turn that off. Ah. Ew.
Hello.
Don't make me
Mate.
do the old.
What mic are you on, Robbo? You're kind of far away from it.
What mic are you wearing?
I got the NTG4 hanging over my head.
Oh.
You might want to get a
Yeah, get it
little
closer.
right?
Pretend we're doing a podcast.
Do I
Yeah.
sound a long way off?
Yeah.
off?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
like
yeah, you
mic
do.
yourself like a podcast.
Is the high pass
go?
filter on that thing? Is that high pass turned on
Hang
that
on,
thing?
I haven't turned anything on yet. Hang on. Let me go this way.
George, what do you think? You think the OC8 could become a VO mic?
Yeah, of course. You can record.
How's that?
Hell
Is that
yeah.
any
With your
better?
small diaphragm. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, it's better.
And then go into your settings in at the bottom there, and then
Gears.
click on audio.
Yes.
and then turn
And
off.
turn it off. Just turn off the audio.
And the video. See ya.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. Done.
Turn off echo cancellation.
Turn it off.
Yeah, turn off echo cancellation. We don't want echo
It
cancellation.
wasn't on.
We don't want echo cancellation.
But don't turn it on.
Don't turn it on.
You know what? There's
You know
a show.
what?
There's a show on Spotify called Smartless. And it's the closest to what we do for Pro Audio Suite. Just check out Smartless.
We just annoy
great.
each other.
It's for celebrities, like effing names right now are slipping through. I can't remember any of their names. Smartless. Just look it up. But it's literally what we do, but just talking about audio. It's Smartless. It's Jason Bateman, Will Arnett,
Oh yeah.
and Sean Haynes.
They actually had Radiohead on the show, and then out of nowhere they're just talking to Radiohead about something like some project over COVID, and I don't know who it was, Jason Bateman, or one of them was like, "Oh yeah, what'd you use, ISDN or Source Connect?" And Radiohead, they're like, "Source Connect." Oh.
I know. Nice plug.
So you're faster than Google. I have to let you know, actually.
Yeah.
But no, it is the feeling of us where it's a bunch of guys just goofing on each other, and then what they do is one of them has chosen a guest, and the others don't know who the guest is. So it's
That's a good one.
Build it up, and then they reveal them. And I guess they're on camera. They see each other, so they must be on Zoom or something. And then they're like, "Oh my God, it's so and so," and they all
I
fawn
hate that
over.
person.
Yeah, they fawn over him or her, and I know it's
Well,
not
at least they're
horrible.
organised enough to know they have a guest. I mean, we, as Dan said yesterday, how does a format of Pro Audio Suite? How does it work? It's like, when you say format, what do you actually mean by
Format?
that?
Yeah, we're a little more tightly formatted. So
Yeah.
The format is
Speaking of
15 minutes before the show, we find out if we all remembered that we are doing a show.
That's true. And then it's like, what are we talking about
And then,
today?
and then the next 5 minutes before that, we figure out what we're doing.
And it usually comes out of a conversation. Like someone will say something and go, "Oh, I had this blah blah." Don't stop. That's
All right,
the show.
let's
That's what we're
record
doing
now.
today.
That actually sounds like something interesting.
And lucky for you, Andrew edits all this crap down.
Yeah.
Well, Robbo gets the first go at it. and then I
Robbo
go
has
for
to
it.
deal with the raw. He mixes the whole thing raw, so it's like
well,
Oh,
it's it's a
Cluster.
With the F word.
Yeah.
It's tightly formatted. We have show notes, and everything goes in a certain order, but sometimes that just sort of goes out the window. But,
oh, you mean like today? I forgot to update the website saying who's on our show.
yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah,
better do
no.
that.
Yeah. You better do that because this one's really important, George.
Well,
You forgot or you did it on
Well,
purpose, George?
okay.
Man, when they get that alert that we're on, I'll tell you what. Stand by.
We are
the internet's
actually
going to go down.
We're
4:59.
seconds
We're going
away.
to break it. I'll tell you what.
We are seconds away. Yes.
Oh, God. No.
Don't be nervous. It's not
my
like there's
gosh.
millions of people watching. But it's about
Hey, I've
half.
done
a
live
Just
radio.
800,000.
So I don't think this is
It's not
necessarily a
quite
worry.
the same thing. Yeah.
What's the
I
number?
didn't know
up?
you had that many mothers.
Yeah. Well,
Dan,
my
what's
dad
the
was
number
busy.
that you make up when we have big guests on? You tell them some big number. What is it? Well, as to how many people are watching.
I just say it's a worldwide audience because
Yeah,
it
that's-
literally is. There's
It
is.
maybe
Well,
two
that is
people
true.
in France and maybe one in New Zealand, and
Yep.
so
That is true.
all right.
Yep.
It is 5:00 here on the West Coast. Are we ready, Ms. Merlino?
Yeah, we're
All
gonna
right.
watch for.
Count us in, and
She's
jump
gonna
into
count
the
us in,
cold
and
pool
then
here.
just listen. Just take our lead.
Okay.
So wait, she counts us in, and then we all like start
Well,
snapping.
that's just me.
Olé.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Take two.
3, 2.
Hey, it's time for VoiceOver Body Shop, and we're going to have a great time tonight.
Yes.
Whenever you're listening, because we've got the guys from the Pro Audio Suite, Robert Marshall, Darren Robbo Robertson, and Andrew Peters, and George and these guys talk about high-tech stuff. So, George, you're going to get to introduce them, and then we're going to talk about that, and then we want your questions because each one of these guys will give us a 20-minute answer.
This could just turn into
sure.
a two-part show. The Tech Talk is it might all run into one big giant
It may.
show.
We'll just edit it
I think it
together.
will. I think
Anyway.
it
It
will.
turns into an episode of the Pro Audio Suite. We're all in trouble.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll do. Anyway,
This time Robbo won't edit it.
Yeah, or me.
are we ready? George, are we ready?
We're ready.
Tame these guys. It's time for VoiceOver Body Shop right now.
VoiceOver Body Shop is brought to you by VoiceOverEssentials.com, the home of Harlan Hogan's signature products. Source Elements, the folks who bring you Source Connect. JMC Demos, when quality matters. VOHeroes.com, become a hero to your clients with award-winning voiceover training. VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your voice actor website shouldn't be a pain in the butt. VoiceOver Extra, your daily resource for voiceover success. And by World Voices, the industry association of freelance voice talent. And now, here's your hosts, Dan and George.
Well, hello there. I'm Dan Leonard,
And I'm George Whittam.
and this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
or VO
BS.
BS. Wow, and I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of that tonight.
An extra heaping helping.
Yeah, absolutely, as they used to say in the Beverly Hillbillies. Anyway, we've got the Pro Audio Suite with us tonight, and this is a podcast that you do on the weeks that we're not doing this.
That's right. That's right. We had a little collision this week because of the timing of our having taken off a week for 4th of July. So we slammed us all in together because we were all scheduled to be here anyway. So we figured, what the heck? This is a perfect time to have the rest of my other family on the show.
So
And here they are.
Why don't you introduce them?
All right, great. Well, from way across the pond, representing two of the most well-known, well-famous cities of Australia, we have first Robbo, who's coming in from Sydney. Hey, Robbo.
G'day. How are you?
Great, man. Thanks for joining us, and it's great to see you. You know, when we do the Pro Audio Suite, it is audio only. We don't even see each other when we produce it, so this is actually kind of disconcerting, a little unsettling.
I had to get out of my pajamas this morning.
And then
I'm glad you put something on then.
Yeah, that's right.
from further down
So's
the
my
coast, further down the coast, we have Andrew Peters from the Melbourne area. Hey, Andrew.
How you going, mate?
Good to see you.
Oh,
He's
that's
the
a voice
voice.
like a warm cup of coffee. I'll tell you.
Yes. It's the remnants of COVID, unfortunately. Yes, the COVID cave. I succumbed to it, but I'm out. Yeah, horrid.
It's like
Don't
so
get it.
many others.
Yeah.
And last and completely least, Robert Marshall from Source Elements.
That's right. Like not necessary is Robert Marshall.
Our pal Robert Marshall from Source Elements, and he is also a studio owner. And just quickly, we'll get everybody to tell us a little bit. But Robbo is a producer. He produces our show, produces television, radio, audio spots. Andrew is a voice talent, clearly, and Robert does
All sorts of stuff.
really everything.
The Renaissance man, we call him. The
the
Renaissance
Renaissance man. Yeah, exactly.
He probably paints as well, knowing
Yes.
Robert.
Actually, I'm very bad at that. Yeah.
Oh,
He
good.
photocopies
Excellent.
himself on. I heard that's the only thing that I think.
When I paint, it ends up just all over my hand. It's really bad.
All right. Don't make me
fair enough.
use the gavel.
Oh, the gavel.
The gavel.
Tell us about the gavel.
Call it
Do tell.
Yeah. What? No. This is somebody found this in their attic and said, "Hey, that looks like Dan Leonard." So,
It does look like it does.
I'm going to see what I can find in my attic that looks like Dan Leonard.
Actually, two things. I've got to say, Dan, two things. One, I mentioned the Beverly Hillbillies some episodes back, and everyone's sort of like, what are you talking about? So I'm glad you actually, obviously a man of my vintage and remembers the Beverly Hillbillies.
of course.
And secondly, I don't know whether you ever saw, I know they did an American version of a TV show called Till Death Us Do Part. I think it was called All in the Family.
Oh, yes.
Would have been back in the 70s. But the English one starred an actor called Warren Mitchell. He played a character called Alf Garnett. And I have to say, if you Google Alf Garnett, it's Dan Leonard.
All right.
So that's like the Dan Leonard on the shelf thing. Like, don't
Yeah. Yes.
Dan
Anyway,
Leonard.
so guys, if I can get some order in this here, tell us about the Pro Audio Suite. How did you start it, and what goes on? I'm getting a sense of what it's like.
It had a
right
prior
now.
life. I know
Yeah,
they
we
had a
did.
prior life.
We
before.
were each guests on your show before, like
Which was
separately,
called
right? And then did
the-
we somehow end up all together? And it was like, you put your peanut butter in my chocolate, and like,
That's right.
Well, it was kind of
That's what
weird
she
because
said.
I remember Robbo and I did a podcast called the VO Radio Show, and we used to get guests on, and we had George as one guest, we had Robert as another guest, and then it was coming up for a Christmas, and we thought, well, let's do one for Christmas. Why don't we get George and Robert? See, just for something different, and we did, and we did the show. And then afterwards, I called Robbo and said, "Do you know what? That kind of works. I think let's see if they're interested in coming and doing it permanently." So that's a short story of how it happened.
Oh, all right.
Bravo.
And it's also the magic of the show, I reckon. The magic of the show is, I'm the sort of, well, Robert as well, but sort of I'm more the sort of producer side of things. Robert, while he's also a producer and audio engineer, is also the sort of software techie sort of thing. George, with his obvious skills, and AP, who spends his life in little rooms behind microphones. So,
Which is
you've got,
yes.
well, you've got the entire gamut of the industry, though. You know, you've got
both
someone
sides of the
who-
glass, and like the tech support for both
Yeah.
sides of the glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an important thing. Now, I'm not an audio geek. I mean, from what I understand, you guys get really into detail about stuff and how things are supposed to sound and stuff. I can't define what an audio geek is. How would you guys define it?
Well, I can tell you what it isn't, and that's
Okay,
me.
well, that'll
So
make
we'll
it
move over
easy.
to somebody
Okay.
else.
I would disagree with that completely.
Yeah, I think
Really?
so.
Anybody who's spent as much coin in audio gear as you is an audio geek.
Oh, true. Good point. Yeah. Okay. I'll accept that. Yeah. But I think the ultimate audio geek on our show would have to be, I would give the award to Robert, for sure.
Me? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I agree.
Yeah.
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 Hey,
There is
Robert,
no
Robbo.
question he can't answer pretty well.
Robbo, eat your mic a little more, gang you up. I want to hear you louder. If you
Am
can.
am I mining? Am I falling away in the background there? How's that?
Yeah, we don't want you to get
better?
stepped
Up the-
on.
up the gain
Andrew's
a little.
tromping
There we
all
go.
over you. There we go.
Well, he
Perfect.
always does that anyway.
But that's what I do anyway. I've always done that.
Yes.
That's-
There's something about Robbo's mic right now that, like, no matter how close he gets to it, he doesn't sound like he's super close
It
to
is.
it.
I'm kind of hearing that too, to be honest with you. But see, that's the NTG
Here,
for you.
just like bash the front of it. Just go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
on.
it's live.
That's me.
okay.
That's
All right,
me.
good.
Yep.
That's
Test
his
me.
thing working?
35 years as an audio engineer. Is this thing working?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, that's right. Didn't you used to love that? You know, tap, 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 tap. Don't, please don't touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
let me toss this out there and see what comes out the other end.
It's going to be a bit very
It's
dangerous.
gonna be interesting.
Yeah,
BS is what will come out the other
yeah,
end.
that's why we're VOBS. Each one of you, tell me what you think are the keys to good audio for voiceover specifically, and then you can talk about all the other weird crap that you guys talk about.
for voiceover, it needs to sound real. It needs to sound natural. Greatest respect. I've been doing radio imaging for 35 years now, and the greatest respect to all the radio imagers out there. But I hear a lot of radio imagers who produce podcasts and stuff like that, which is a more natural form of audio, and obviously very voice-driven. And they use the same tricks and effects that they use on voices on radio promos. So they compress the living hell out of it. They EQ the living hell out of it. And to me, that's not natural. To me, on a radio promo, absolutely, you need to do that. There's a million reasons we could sit here forever and talk about why. But for a podcast, it's just people sitting, having a chat. I want it to sound natural. I want it to sound easy to listen to. I want it to sound as unaffected as I can. And to me, that's the trick. That's the biggest trick.
Yeah, we were just talking about
because
this
the
stuff.
radio promo is designed to interrupt and get your attention, and
Correct.
that's fine. But you don't want an hour of that, essentially.
That would be fatiguing.
Yeah, can
It
you
would
imagine
be.
a documentary sounding like that?
Yes.
Well, I mean,
Looking at an elephant.
Yeah.
Robert, you're listening to that stuff all day because you're producing it. It must be
Yeah.
fatiguing. You must have to be
Oh,
really
gosh.
careful not to
Yeah.
run your cans too hot or your monitors too hot.
You're fluctuating the level, and what's funny with listening and mixing for TV a lot is that especially for advertising, there's a lot of time spent just on the small speakers. And like, you know, so there's not a lot of volume there. But yeah, no, it's still like very in your face. It depends on exactly what spot you're working on. And I'm not working on like car dealership spots all day. But I've certainly done a number of campaigns where it is just like borderline yelling at people.
What are you monitoring through, Robbo?
What am I monitoring through?
When you're editing and mixing and doing all that.
I've got my can you see them up the back there?
Yeah.
Okay.
My beautiful Adam Audio A7Xs, which I purchased just last year, in fact, and I have
that's right.
fallen in love with. And also my Austrian Audio. I was going to say A7X, and now the name of them's gone out of my head.
High X65.
X65s. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
But Andrew's not a
here to help.
geek.
Are also they're sort of they've become my bees. I've never mixed in headphones until I had them, and we talked about this on an episode of the show recently. I put them on the first time and I hated them. I took them straight off, and now they're my go-to before anything gets mixed out of Pro Tools. I throw them on and have a listen in that as well. So yeah.
Right. And as a producer, of course, you're working with multiple tracks, and you're really taking the stuff that, you know, any voice actor is going to send you, and you're adding all of the other elements. And I think a lot of people think, well, do I have to do that as a voice actor? And no, you're the guy that's going to be doing all the hard work. So what do you want when a voice actor sends you a file? What do you expect from them?
Oh, anybody who listens to our show can answer this.
Oh yeah.
Deal with the room first. First thing is not
you.
an echoey room. First thing, and then basically a decent type of mic, probably a condenser, but a high quality dynamic, and make sure you're in front of the stupid mic, close. You know, and I'd say that's the beginning of it, and then after that it gets into the equipment. But honestly, these days, a lot of this equipment is all good, and the price range for a $100 USB interface and the quality it gives is not as different as you'd think for the difference between that and a $1,000 interface, for example. So it's pretty inexcusable these days to have crappy gear, I think.
Yeah. It's not like telling people, it's like there's no microphone out there that's going to make you perform better. You know, you either got
I wonder,
it or you don't.
is that true though? Is that true though, Dan? I think there's
totally
a psychological thing. I think if you go into a studio and someone puts a cheap mic in front of you, it's kind of like, yeah, well, is that what I'm worth? Well, and if they put up a really, like a really good mic, you go, thanks, buddy. I mean, I've been into studios where the guy's run in, taken down a shotgun and put up, his U87 because he wants me to be on the U87. I know it's because it's going to sound better anyway with my voice as opposed to the mic he had in there before, which could have been for somebody else. Right. But psychologically, you think, oh, yeah, thanks.
It could be a placebo
You
effect.
thought about me and my voice and what might fit it well.
Yeah, correct.
A placebo effect is still an effect, right? Even if it's not something that's affecting the quality or the product or your acting, it's something.
I think the opposite can happen. I think the opposite can happen. For example, Sage was working on a song forever, and she. I just had her set up with like an M box and an old Mac Pro, 1.1 Mac Pro, and a Audio-Technica battery powered condenser. It was not awesome at all. And
she gave her like really basic entry level mediocre equipment to start with.
She was just writing a song, and it was like, she's recording in our living room. The refrigerator's right there, like buzzing away. It wasn't expected to be a good recording.
You're slipping, Robert. She should be on a train because that's what you would normally do.
Yeah, you're right. She's really actually upping the quality. I have to, but she does these vocals on basically the scratch part of this song, like the scratch track, and for the next 3 months she's chasing that. She's like she likes that performance better, and she redid it like 4 times at least. Because it's like there's a certain relaxing, like, oh, shitty mic, who cares? I'm just going to kind of do this. And you end up not worrying about it so much that you end up doing a really kick-ass take. Then when you try to think about it too much, you end up breaking it.
Yeah. Robbo?
I was going to throw it back to you two, to you, Dan, and you, Andrew, because there's a thing as an audio producer / engineer / mixer is your brain is wired that when things are louder, your brain will tell you they sound better even if they don't.
True.
and so-
It's
so
like
when-
it's like salt.
so, yeah,
Yeah, it is. It is. Audio salt.
So I guess the reverse question that you posed us, Dan and Andrew, would be when you're recording, are you conscious of how loud your headphones are? Do you notice a difference if you're monitoring lower as you are when you've got them loud? I mean, AP's deaf anyway. He probably didn't even hear me ask that question, but maybe Dan did.
Well, when I'm recording, unless I'm doing a remote session, I'm not wearing headphones. I listen to myself in the environment in which I'm
Yeah,
recording,
right. Yep.
and that way I'm not affected by it at all. And I find it weird wearing headphones for this, but because of the way the audio is set up here on StreamYard, I gotta wear the headphones. But normally I just listen to myself as I am, the way I normally hear myself. Sure. And there's people that say, well, I've got to hear the mouth clicks, and I got to hear this, and I'm like,
Well, it's like George's client who practically needs a foot pedal for his headphone volume.
Yes, that's right.
we won't
Right.
mention any names.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Just
It
Sorry.
rhymes with David K.
yeah.
But not mentioning any names.
No. He's a friend of his. You meet a friend of David Kay. Yeah.
And it's like and definitely like some announcers depending on the style that you're working in. If you're aware of your mic technique and where you are, then you need the headphones to really kind of feel that feedback if you're playing with the proximity effect.
Yeah.
I know that when you're recording singers, often it helps to really compress their voice for them in their headphones so that they just kind of hear themselves.
It's all in their face.
Yeah, so they have a different feed, a headphone feed, and
Yeah.
which
Right,
is
yeah,
separate.
they're-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, I can work without headphones, but I prefer not to, because I find it like if I'm going to wear headphones some of the time, then I'm going to wear headphones all the time, because if I keep changing things, then I get confused as to what it's sounding like or whatever. So, headphones, 100% for me.
Yeah, what do you use?
What do you think? Would be
How many
let me
pairs
think,
did one man
they're from
have?
Vienna.
The AAs.
No, I got the Austrian Audios. I have Hayek's 55s in the booth because they're closed back, and then I have 65s out here if I'm just want to check an edit for whatever reason. I rarely use headphones for an edit. If I can't hear it through speakers, then I don't worry too much. Yeah. And for things like this, I've just got some Audio Technica in-ears, which I've got to say are great. They're fantastic.
Especially for like eliminating echo, it's a good trick if you have those, stick it in your earplugs.
Well, the good thing is if you're out of the studio, you're traveling and you're recording in a hotel room or wherever, it's actually really good to have in-ears because it just cancels anything that's bleeding
noise
in
out.
via the, yeah. So
I should use that next
time.
time I'm on a train.
Yeah, you would frighten yourself because we know exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you're just joining us here on VoiceOver Body Shop, you're probably very confused. But
Not as confused as we are, Dan.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's spreading around. Our guests are the guys from the Pro Audio Suite. George, you're technically not a guest. I mean, these are your guys.
George, what are you? You're confused now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's stuck in the
I'm
middle.
totally confused.
Split personality.
I was still wondering about 5 minutes ago. Are we doing the podcast right now? Because I keep reminding myself we edit the podcast.
No editing
we don't
this.
edit this show. This show is
There's no razor blades.
I'm
and tape
trying
on it.
very hard. So if you haven't noticed,
Oh, there are
Much-
razor
much
blades,
less
Dan, but not for
Tourette's-y.
editing.
Anyway, if any of you out there who are watching this very show at this very moment, if you have a question for these guys who know
please
audio,
save us.
yes, throw it in the chat room. And I know Jeff Holman is hiding in there somewhere, and we will get to those questions in our next segment. But we've got Robert Marshall and Robbo and Andrew Peters who are joining us from the Pro Audio Suite. And again, you got a question, they'll be happy to answer them. Okay, so getting back to that sort of subject about good equipment and stuff like that. I mean, I generally teach and preach.
Yep.
Keeping it super duper simple.
Yes.
And that it's not going to be everything you do on the back end to make yourself sound like you, as I like to say. The idea of a home voiceover studio specifically is not to make you sound great. It's to make you sound like you, as you exist in the environment in which you're recording. And as you said earlier on, Robert, it's like the environment means more than anything else. And no echo, no exterior noise, those sorts of things. What about some of the? A lot of people use, somebody was like, "Hey, I need help with my RX9. It won't install right," and I'm like, "Why are you using that?" Well, mouth clicks, and I've got this, and I've got that. Well, to me, everything is physical. What do you guys think about all of this modern, filtering software that we have now?
Who's going to start?
Yeah, I don't use it.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
No, Robbo. I know Robbo uses it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't use it. I'm just saying don't, let the end person mixing it deal with that, and there's no need to, start trying to process and hide stuff that will be figured out anyways. Yeah.
I think I can see where you're going, Dan, and I think the answer that you're probably looking for, and the one that we give on the show a lot, is really make your room sound as good as you can. Find the right room, talk to guys like George, get yourself set up somewhere where it's going to be the best possible recording you can make, and then as much as possible just leave it alone. Guys like me and Robert, we've got your back. We'll clean you up. Obviously we're not going to send audio to our clients that's not right. And look, back in analog days, and even the days before home studios, we dealt with voiceover artists who had mouth clicks and all the rest of it. It's just a part of recording. So as long as you're not popping and hissing and someone's mowing the lawn next door, just leave it. Leave it alone and send it to us and let us deal with it.
We've talked about it. At the most, a high pass filter, maybe if it's set very low, 30 or 50 at the most.
Actually, that's really interesting you said about analog, though, Robbo, because I'm just thinking in the days when we were recording on tape and the edit was done with a splice block and a China giraffe or whatever you call it, What did you do about mouth clicks and things? How did you cut them out? I can't remember because I was never in production, so I don't know.
I don't remember ever cutting out mouth clicks.
We had a compressor that was like a super fast high frequency compressor, and it was originally made for taking out pops in vinyl, essentially.
Okay.
But honestly, the thing like probably the worst plugins you can think of now, it's like it kind of helped, and if you used it too much, it just made the whole situation worse. And it's like it could take out the really big stuff, but I mean now we're chasing down little like little tiny things that aren't even like spikes above the waveform. Yeah. So
I mean, and that seems to be an issue with a lot of people. Like as I was saying, somebody's like, I got to use RX9 because I take out all this stuff. But when we talk to each other over a cup of coffee in our kitchen or something, it's all there, and the only reason that we hear it is because we're, of course, talking a little bit more in proximity to a microphone as opposed to being across a table where you're doing that. But generally, I don't know. I hear people, they don't do mouth clicks. It's only when they're doing it in voiceover for some reason. And because I tend to think that people overproject. They tend to overemphasize certain syllables. And... And that happens. Actual vocal technique is far more important than all the other things. As long as you've got the right environment and you're using your microphone right and your levels are right, it really shouldn't matter unless you're really.
I mean, I think that people are clicking away even when they're talking amongst each other. So it's just that you're in a room and there's background noise and you're 6 feet away from them and all that. So you're not picking up on the mouth clicks but I think someone and people have clicky days and not clicky days. It depends on what you ate and how much you drank. And it's like how much you drank the night before too.
Well, I have a theory too. Stress is a part of it. Part of it. But Robert and you guys that have recorded actors in legit studio, commercial studios, do you guys do you record the actors with a microphone this close?
No
traditionally,
way.
Like in the traditional sense.
If you're in a good booth, you have the freedom to be more away from the microphone and still have a very direct sound, and then you get a more balanced kind of frequency. It's not so bassy. It's a little bit like you can almost have the same effect by just staying just as close to the mic and putting it in omni. and then you would have less proximity, and it sounds more natural depending on the booth that they have. But a lot of the trick is you get so close to it to avoid your room. Everybody with voiceover booths that are working in closets and all those little wood boxes we all know so well. Yeah. They're forced to have to almost eat the mic because they're getting so much room resonance, and it's slowly skewing. And it's slowly skewing the aesthetic. Yeah, well, and the closer the mic is, the more the mic is now sensitive to the mouth noise. The mouth noise may always be there, but the closer the mouth noise is the same volume no matter how loud or soft you project. Right? It's mechanical, so it's like a harpsichord. You can't change the volume of that damn thing. That's the sound, the volume it is, because it's plucking strings, It's like with the mouth noise, it's just mechanical. So now when you're closer to the mic, guess what gets louder? The mouth noise, and that's the challenge. Like, it's harder to record a clean, great sounding voiceover in a really small room with a really close mic. It is harder. Yep.
It's interesting because you're talking about like having a conversation in the kitchen, having over coffee. You don't hear clicks and you don't hear anything. It's like walking into a room that's echoey. You don't necessarily, unless it's like a medieval church, you don't hear the echo. But as soon as you record something, put headphones on, you hear it. It's there.
Well, there's a bizarre thing that happens with your brain. That's right. When it's live, your brain is interpreting and it sees it and it cancels certain things out. It's like the other thing that your brain can do amazingly well is if you're standing in a circle of 4 people and it's a party with 100 people behind you, right? You can hear all 4 people and what's being said. And then you just take a recording of that pretty much where you were and you play the recording back, and then you can't figure out what the 4 people are saying as much. The background noise seems way louder, and your brain, because you're not seeing the mouth move, there's a million things that just make your brain use filters.
They actually do that for hearing tests now. Go ahead, Robbo.
There's a very embarrassing thing that I'm sure every audio engineer who's ever walked the planet will tell you that they've done, is you'll sit there for 20 minutes EQing a voice or compressing a voice or adding a reverb, playing with a reverb, and you'll go,
I know what you're gonna say.
My God, that's awesome! And then you'll look up and it's bypassed.
Yeah. You weren't doing shit the whole. It's like you fell for your own producer's knob. It's like the knob on the desk. You're like, can you like do something with that? And you like turn a knob that's not connected to anything. You're like, oh, much better. You're like, yeah.
That's right. But
Dumbass.
Your brain will tell you. Your brain will be telling you, my God, that's getting so much better. Your brain is your biggest enemy when in audio.
The entire hi-fi stereo market has based its entire economy on that, basically. Yeah. Just about.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
you
illusion.
Mean, audiophile market?
Yeah, the audiophile market, exactly.
Audiophile, yes.
It's like paint your CDs green. Oh, that's I definitely hear that. Like
$1,000 power cables. I can sell you one of those.
Yes, exactly.
Speaker cables with electrons that follow traffic directions.
Well, once again, we're talking with the guys from the Pro Audio Suite. If you have a question for them, because I got lots of questions. I could talk all night, which I've been known to do. But if you've got a question, throw it in the chat room, whether you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on YouTube, because we do this show live, because we want you guys talking to us and letting us know what's on your mind and what you need to make your voiceover practice better, especially from an audio point of view. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break right now, and we'll be right back with the guys from the Pro Audio Suite right after these incredibly important messages. Don't go away.
This is the Latin lover narrator from Jane the Virgin, Anthony Mendez, and you're enjoying Dan and George on The VoiceOver Body Shop.
Well, hello there. I bet you weren't expecting to hear some big-voiced announcer guy on your new orientation training for Snapchat, were you?
This is Virgin Radio. Well, okay, we're not that innocent.
There's jeans for wearing and there's jeans for working. Dickies, because I ain't here to look pretty.
She's a champion of progressive values, a leader for California, and a voice for America.
It's smart. It's a phone. It's a smartphone. But it's so much more. The files are ready. Don't forget to pick up the eggs. What time is hockey practice? Check out this song.
It's the end of the road for Rick. It's just you and me, Rick. When hope is lost.
The i8 from BMW. Who said saving the planet couldn't be stylish?
Hey, it's J. Michael Collins. Bet you think I'm going to try and sell you a demo now, huh? I think they speak for themselves. But I will give you my email. It's jmichael@jmcvoiceover.com. Now, if Dan will stop waxing his mustache for a minute, we'll get back to the show.
Inflated prices? Not at voiceoveressentials.com. Despite the nationwide inflation rate of over 8%, VoiceOver Essentials refuses to raise prices. In fact, they refuse to even say the I word. Their inventory is large on all their products, and they purchased them before the current economic conditions. It's simply wrong to increase profit as many retailers are doing right now. So Harlan & Company promised not to raise their prices during difficult times for everyone. They'll stay the course, steady and sure, flat and firm, solid and steadfast. Okay, enough. You get the point. Unfortunately, they're under the same inflationary pressures as everyone else, and they'll need to restock in the not-so-distant future. No doubt there'll be sticker shock for them and you. So right now is the time to order that Portabooth Pro or VO1A voiceover microphone and their VO 2.0 headphones. Fight inflation at voiceoveressentials.com.
Hey there, I'm David H. Lawrence, the 17th, and with my company VO Heroes and my team of coaches and my community of voiceover talent, we guide voiceover actors along their journey. And you may be watching VOBS here and not nearly as far along as many of the other people who are watching. You may not even have started yet. And we actually specialize in helping you do just that. So if you're watching all the stuff going on here on VOBS and going, I have no idea what they're talking about, I don't know, but I really want to do this, I'd really like to help you. Please go to voheroes.com/start. That's voheroes.com/start. And you can take our Getting Started in Voiceover class, which tells you everything you need to get started as a voice talent. And I'd love to hold your hand along the way and help you with that journey. Again, voheroes.com/start. That's voheroes.com/start.
This is Bill Ratner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Leonard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
Do your thing. Hey, we're back here at VoiceOver Body Shop. We're with the Pro Audio Suite. And again, if you've got a question, if these guys know the answer, whether it's the right one or not, we'll have to decide later on. But if you've got a question, throw it in the chat room, whether you're on Facebook Live or watching us on YouTube or watching the smoke signals come over the top of the hill. Anyway, just put them in there and we can get those questions to these guys. I have one question I wanted to throw you guys, because this is something that comes up an awful lot. When I'm talking to my clients and helping them with their audio, they're all like, I want to sound warm.
Put on a coat.
That's usually what I tell them. You know.
Yes.
Sometimes they're like, "What do I do about the bird sounds outside?" I said, "A shotgun."
You've been to Italy, haven't you?
Anyway, when somebody says warm, and we know that everybody hears differently, and certain sounds are, people say, "I have a buzz," and you listen, no, it's a hum. And I'm like, they'll say, "I have a hum," no, it's a buzz. What do people mean by warm, and is that something that people should achieve?
Do you want me to have a crack at this one?
You've got the warmest voice here, and it doesn't sound like you have to work too hard at it.
Well, I think the key is, apart from the frog in the throat, excuse me.
Ribbit.
I think, exactly. Excuse me, COVID. I think the warmth thing is you've either got it or you haven't. I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but each voice has its own signature, and some sound warmer than other voices, I guess. But if you've got the prerequisite to have a warm voice, stop projecting so much and cuddle into the microphone and get warm.
What does having a warm-sounding voice mean?
I don't know.
It's another one of those. It's another one of those. Could mean anything. Sort of.
It implies a certain softness, but still size, like big and soft. I would say,
Yeah.
but it's
But have you ever had
bizarre
that,
when we start using these words like for audio because they're all like touchy feely words. And
Yeah, but have you ever had the one with the colours? I mean, I haven't heard it for a while, but you used to go like, just can you just think kind of brown? Can you think brown?
Yeah, shit.
I've never heard
me?
like make it sound more purple is like the joke.
Yeah, a little more blue than purple. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I mean, bright and dark, that makes sense. If you're just, it's just like up the scale, down the scale is all it is. I mean, it doesn't have to be bright and dark, but
no.
Do you have to take your Pantone colours with you? And it's like, which shade?
Well, it's funny because you're talking about Pantone colors, but really it's like all these different words. They, essy and edgy and boomy, and they all have different kind of spots in the frequency range generally that people agree on, and it's probably pretty wide. But certain words you would definitely at least agree are like, say, 1K and below, and those would be like boomy and muffy or whatever.
It sounds like a Pro Audio Suite episode waiting to happen where we literally
this is where we go
sit and talk for 45 minutes about how
shit
to define
no one cares about.
Except us.
Well, that's the show, though. That's the show.
Clearly, people do care about it because I keep hearing it. I want to sound this way. I want to sound that way. I'm like, well, you sound the way you are.
I think that's right. The thing. I think you've got to deal with your voice is what your voice is. Like how many times I hear voiceover artists making their own voiceover demos or something like that, and they obviously decide that they want to sound a bit more warm or a bit more thick or whatever term you want to put on it, and all they do is they grab something down around 100, 150 hertz, and they just wind the hell out of it, and just put all this bottom end that's not really there into their voice and stuff like that. And it's coming back to what we were talking about before. It's not natural.
No,
it's not normally there. Don't try and make it there. Your voice is your voice.
Unfortunately,
it's true. You're stuck with it. Yeah.
What you start with, if it's music or voiceover, it's like, how do I sound this way or that way? It's like, well, sound that way. That's the first thing. And all the EQ, like, it's all meant for subtle, very refined changes. And if you're using it for extreme stuff, then you're fixing something or trying to force it into a place that it doesn't want to be. But ideally, like, you're doing this with your voice. You are projecting in a certain way. You're talking softly, and that's all part of the sound of it. And that's immediately where warm or dark or whatever comes from to start with. And then
I think a good example is Nancy Cartwright. You think about her, like she couldn't play Bart if she sounded like Andrew.
Oh no,
it'd be a different kind of Bart. That's for sure.
She can just like do that mid-rangey thing. Like, I don't know.
it's just your voice is your voice, and yes, you can push your voice to different places, but you can still only push it to places that it's able to go.
Right.
It's
like accents to me. I always find that interesting. I mean, I know that Matt Cowrick is very good at accents. In fact, he's just a freak in that department. But sometimes, people say, well, why don't you do an American voiceover and stuff like that? It's like, why would I? How many other American voiceovers are there's so many? Why would I compete? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
So
Andrew,
stick
can
to
I
what
ask you a question? Have you
got
got your top button done up?
I do.
I've just
have my top
noticed.
button
That's
on.
very formal of you. I mean,
It's a polo shirt. It's very English of me.
Would it be legit for a voiceover
It's a
person?
throwback to my sort of skinhead days or
shall
something.
we go for some gin and polo?
Just don't ask Prince Andrew, for God's sake. Otherwise, you'll be bags of M&Ms.
We got some questions from our vast worldwide audience, and we're wondering if you guys want to attack some of these.
George will answer
I've
the
been
first
rehearsing
question.
this part all night.
Yeah.
I reckon you should do it. Dan, you should actually just pull a question up. Don't look at it. And just pick a name of any of us, and it will probably be the wrong question for the person.
Print it, write it backwards, and then stick it on your forehead. And then we'll answer the question, and then you'll have to guess what the question was.
That's right.
Oh my God, this is turning into our show.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, George gets the first question, and he can address it to whoever he wishes.
The first one in the audience from Rob Ryder, who's on YouTube watching. from Cincinnati. I've been told that the normal noise floor in a quiet home is about minus 70 dB. If a booth has a noise floor of minus 60 dB or better, why do we need room tone at all, like for audiobooks? How about, Robert, you take this one.
Oh, God. I'm lost. Basically,
pay attention.
If the noise floor of a house is lower than your booth, why do you need room tone for it? I mean, I would call it booth tone. You just, because it's if you're cutting everything and you edit like between one word and another word, you're going to hear the silence, and your brain, whoever the listener is, will feel the absence of whatever it is in the background. So you want to bridge that across with your edits. Even if you're cutting out breaths, you might even just want some silence there, because if not, you'll feel that complete cliff down. Anybody on headphones will especially notice this stuff, because then it's not blending with whatever room tone is existing with the speakers that they're listening in already. So if you're on headphones, it's like now you're fighting against zero. There's no place to hide. You can hear your edits. Put some booth tone or some room tone in between things, and it just makes life way easier. If not, you have to have such an incredibly clean setup that it's really hard to achieve. And you have to make no noises if you move, like in between words. If you somehow move your arm and there's a sound and you have to get out of it, again, you're going to hear these things be cut in and out, sound gated and whatnot. So
yeah, I mean, a normal noise floor in a quiet room, minus 70 dB. I don't know where that spec comes from.
That's
Robert.
if you're living in a bunker.
Yeah.
It's probably. I mean, if you have a quiet home in an urban, suburban, or whatever environment, you could probably get that low. The problem is a lot of us are in urban environments, and we never get close to that level of a room tone in a quiet home. And then people go inside a booth thinking it's going to be quieter, and it might be all the way down to 150 hertz quieter, but from 150 or below, it sometimes is louder, because that room is a resonating chamber, and now it makes everything louder in those lower frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're all fighting against different battles in terms of room tone noise levels.
Yeah. And the other thing also to remember is it absolutely, when the audio is raw, you're probably not going to notice it so much. But once you start processing, once you start EQing and compressing and all that sort of stuff, you actually are bringing that noise up a touch, so it does become more noticeable. And
a compressor will just bring all your edits out.
That's right.
Totally, yeah.
And unless you sort of go in and do a whole bunch of heap of noise reduction stuff, your brain will pick up, as exactly as Robert's saying. So
yeah, certainly will pick up silence. Yeah,
you do want something just to fill those gaps. So
I've actually got a file sitting there when I edit, which is actually just the noise of the booth, which I've captured, and I just cut a piece, and when I have to take something out, like a breath or whatever, I just drop it in. That's how I do it.
It's bizarre, not to take this into a Pro Audio Suite thing, but adding noise, in a sense, adds resolution to things, which is what's called dither. But it gives a nice. The easiest way to explain it is it gives a nice infinity for your voice to go, or whatever it is that you're listening to, for it to fade away into. So you can't tell when it went away. And if you don't have that, then it's a lot harder to kind of give a sense of depth.
A lot of voiceover artists would also probably be horrified to know that one of the first things you reach for when you're processing voices these days is a bit of distortion.
Yes, that's right.
Just to give it a bit of crack and crunch and pop.
Yep.
So it does have its place.
Now here's a question. Also, when you if you've got your mic set, if you've got a multi-pattern microphone, depending on what pattern you select, when you cut at the end of a word, I know you get a click. What pattern is that? We talked about this only a couple of weeks ago.
Any pattern that lets more low end through, basically, because that click is going to mainly come from leaving a waveform. The low end tends to be more susceptible to the cut happening when it's way at the bottom of the, like the waveform moving up and down relative to zero. And so if you cut there on the bottom, and the worst case scenario is the next instant is a cut on the top, physically there's no way sound instantly jumps up like that and you get a click. So something that has a lot of low end. But I remember that I used to in our booth at a studio I worked at, we had a CRT TV, and one of the engineers just didn't care that thing was on, like kicking out like 14K constantly, and he just didn't hear it, didn't care about it, whatever. But the funny thing is, like, you would scrub, and you'd scrub down, like, and then that super high frequency noise would come down into like some other audio frequency, and it'd just be maddening when you're editing, because it'd be like, you'd go into scrub, you'd like, and you'd hear it constantly because it's like this 14K signal being pitch shifted as you scrub.
Wow. We got a question here from Linda Graves, who says, and this is one I ask all the time because it's like, why are you doing this? What does a $1,000 interface like a Universal Apollo Twin Duo give you that the $150 to $200 interfaces do, aside from the fact that you can use all those plugins?
You have less dollars to worry about.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, that's
right. The Apollo's got a pretty decent preamp, and so some of those like $100, $150, they're gonna have a preamp that doesn't quite give you as, like, they might go up to, a good example is like a Rode AI1. It only goes up to like 50 decibels of boost. And so maybe if you're really soft-spoken or doing some ASMR or something, you could use the extra gain before the mic preamp gets noisy. There's a hell of a lot of internal routing and other capabilities that the Apollo has for dealing with latency. But in the end, if all you need is a mic in and headphone out, and you're trying to look for simplicity, the most the Apollo offers you, I think, is a good mic preamp and a good headphone preamp.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually like the SSL2, which is the interface that I use. A lot of people
like that one. Yeah, I've been hearing that.
Well, it's got plenty of gain. That was the thing, because Robert and I were doing, we're actually shooting a video for Source Elements, as it was. And I was using the AI1, and my daughter was doing the voice, and it just didn't have enough gain for what we were trying to achieve. I mean, it was cranked, but we got through it, but it wasn't ideal. And so Robert and I afterwards started talking about getting another interface with more gain, and we scoured around and found the SSL2. So I bought one, and I think that's got about 65
or 60.
62, 65, whatever it is, yeah.
The Rode, I think, has like 45, I think. And I think some of the other like less expensive interfaces are like 50 and 55. The Rode was honestly especially low. It's not bad. But the Rode doesn't seem to go into like crazy noise. Some of them that go up to whatever, 80 and 60 or whatever, when they do get up there, they're just kicking a lot of noise anyway, so it's kind of a useless range.
Yeah, and interesting that Rode would put that out with only 50 dB gain, because the Rodes generally are somewhat lower output. But
I think the reason they did it with that, because it was a kit, and then it came with the, you could buy it with the
condenser. It came with the NT1.
Yeah. And the NT1 has a huge amount of gain. It's incredibly quiet. So I think as a pair with the AI1 and the NT1, it worked really well. It's when you start sticking other things.
You put a dynamic mic on that, like put an SM7 with the AI1, and you're in pain.
You're in trouble.
Yeah.
George, you got Jeff Holman's question.
I'll do that. I just wanted to, there was a follow-up from Rob. He said, I'm sorry I got some of the stuff backwards. I actually meant that the noise level in my house is actually louder than the noise level in my booth. And I think I think it's a semantical thing. He's asking about room tone again. And room tone is just a generic term for the sound of an open microphone in a space, right?
Without you talking,
Right. Yeah. So every room has a different room tone because it's unique to that space. That's what we're really referring to. So yeah, your booth might have your booth should have a lower room tone than your house.
You would hope.
Otherwise you wasted a lot of money.
If it doesn't, you're in trouble.
Yeah. So that's definitely true. Jeff Holman asks, he's our very own chat room mod. What's your feeling on using pre-processing to audio requested to be audio without processing? Like sending in an audition with high-pass filter activated on your Revelator when you're not doing post-processing technically. So yeah, we've talked about this.
I don't call a high-pass filter. I'll pass that one off as not processing. Like you're allowed to use a high pass filter as long as it's not too high. Everything else, don't touch it, I think.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a couple of episodes ago. For me, it comes down to do what you have to do, but do it for a reason. So have a result in mind. Don't blindly reach for a high pass filter, if you don't know what it's going to do or why you need it. Leave it alone. If there's nothing sonically that strikes you that makes you go, this could be a little odd, don't do it.
Yeah.
How about this for an answer? If you have a problem that you know about, you have two choices, and that is to just let the other engineer deal with it, or you try to get rid of it. And the whole question is, can you get rid of it better than the engineer? Can you get rid of it without tying their hands in any way that they might go, you know what, I just didn't care about that noise at all. I didn't care at all. And now this processing has done something. It's cut the end of a breath off if it's a gate or something. It does something weird that maybe for some reason is needed. But if you're absolutely sure that you can solve the problem for the engineer, you are doing them a favor. You're saving them time. Great. The problem is that that's not guaranteed to be what they want. And so the other aspect I would say is, if you can do something with your voice that you cannot stand someone not doing for you, if you don't trust them, like just the opposite, if you don't trust the engineer to, tweak it up and give a little bit of a brighter EQ and compress it a little bit, whatever, if you're not sure they're going to do that and you can't stand the possibility of your voice going out without that, then sure, do your stuff. And the weird thing is the awkward conversation you have to have with the engineer and whoever it is. It's not really that awkward, but do you want processing or not? Do you like it like this or like that? Be really quick at being able to turn the stuff off. If you're probably doing a session with me, I'm going to turn it off. But there might be engineers out there that do prefer it, or they do want to work quick. Or classically, you're recording with, say, direct to a client, and they're editing your voice straight in a video editor, and you just know that they're never going to give it to an audio person, and they're just going to spit it out of the video machine. Then you might want to get ahead of the game and try to process your voice for those things. But you have to be confident in the processing you're doing, and then you have to be willing to have the conversation with somebody to say, hey, I'm doing this, do you want it or not? Or you can just not do it, no one expects you to do it anyways, and done.
I think that there's the only issue I can see with that, though, is that we all have this weird perception of what we sound like. And I guarantee if, like a voice talent decides they're going to process their voice, they're going to make it sound like something they want it to sound like, not what it should sound like. Yeah. And that's an issue that, once it's baked, you can't unbake it. So
correct. That's right.
My advice, I would say, don't touch it.
You can never go wrong with not touching it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if your room is fun, like we talked about before, if your booth is good, and the everything that comes out of there sounds natural, as we've talked about, sonically fine, then even if they do stick it in there raw, it's not perfect. But you kind of go, well, it's better than me butchering it or whatever, So just leave it.
That's the thing. I think that's the thing, and I really don't want to sound arrogant here, but interestingly,
too late.
Yes,
Robbo.
I know exactly what an asshole that Robbo is.
It's
typical
right,
Aussie, head up his ass. I would suggest to you that I guess given 35 years here, Robert, however many years behind the console, an audio engineer is going to know what they want to do with your bad audio better than you. You know what I mean? Or they're going to want to do it their own way. They're going to go, well, I don't like this, so I'm going to process this way. But if you give it to them and you've already had a hack at it, what you do is you push them into a corner of what they're able to do to get the result they want. So
especially with compression and gating, you can barely undo that stuff, if at all.
That's right. Totally.
But how many guys like Robbo? How many times have you listened to other audio engineers? And we're not going to name names, but you hear what they do, and it's like, that sounds like crap. What are they doing? That's the point, though. They don't think it sounds like crap. You think it sounds like crap.
That's right. And they may listen to my stuff and go, well, that's rubbish too. And that's all personal. But at least it's as an audio engineer, they've been given the opportunity to make it crap if that's how they want it to sound. If that's the sound they want to make it sound. It hasn't been, it's not taken away at the beginning of the process because you've overcompressed your voice or you've gated so hard, you've cut stuff off, and now all of a sudden I'm pushed into this corner where I've got to spend 45 minutes to an hour doing what I can to fix it for a still not perfect result.
I mean, like a situation like this, you're doing an ensemble record, or it's supposed to be all this stuff recorded sort of in a group, and one person gives you this super highly compressed thing, which doesn't sound very room-like and conversational. So now you're like, great, to make everyone sound similar, I gotta make them all sound like they're super compressed.
That's right.
And then you're like, well, okay, it works, and probably most people don't notice, but you're thinking as an engineer, like, man, if I had it differently, I would have treated these voices like that, and it really would have sounded like they were all in a room. And you're just like, well, I had to take it in a different direction because one person went there. Now I have to take everything there, for example.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we've reached the end of this particular hour, but you're going to stick around and we're going to do Tech Talk for next week. And if anybody's got a question for you that they are like, what are these guys talking about? We can get into that in our next hour. But anyway, guys, thanks for being with us tonight. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. I mean, I know most of you guys, but it's always a pleasure to talk with you. And thanks for being with us.
It's a pleasure to meet you guys too. I haven't seen any of you.
You know what some of these guys look like. Anyway, George and I will be back to wrap things up right after this.
Beautiful.
You're still watching VLBS?
In these modern times, every business needs a website. When you need a website for your voice acting business, there's only one place to go. Like the name says, voiceactorwebsites.com. Their experience in this niche webmaster market gives them the ability to quickly and easily get you from concept to live online in a much shorter time. When you contact voiceactorwebsites.com, their team of experts and designers really get to know you and what your needs are. They work with you to highlight what you do. Then they create an easily navigable website for your potential clients to get the big picture of who you are and how your voice is the one for them. Plus, VoiceActorWebsites.com has other great resources like their practice script library and other resources to help your voiceover career flourish. Don't try it yourself. Go with the pros. VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your VO website shouldn't be a pain in the you-know-what.
It's time, yes it is, to do something I've never had to do before, and that is do a commercial for Source Elements in front of the co-founder of Source Connect and Source Elements, Robert Marshall. I don't know if he knows this, but I make it up every single time, and I do it twice a session. And here we go. Source Connect is an amazing tool for connecting your studio to others in the world of production, and it's loved by so many producers for a couple reasons. One, it's been around a long time to a point where it's been, I will say safely, it's become a standard, right? It's become a standard staple of voiceover recording production because it's been around a long time. Maybe later, when we get into Tech Talk later, Robert can go a little bit more into Source Elements history and when Source Connect was developed, but it's been a while. It's been a minute, as the kids say. So it's a well-established tool. It also, the producers are recording your audio directly into their timeline in whatever DAW they're using. 95% of the time, probably Pro Tools. And so it works in the workflow. It just flows into the way the producers work and it allows a very efficient way of working. It also allows them to have a client or clients, and many times with big commercials, there's many clients, all listening in, either physically sitting in a studio or all dialed in from another system, and they're all listening to what you're doing in real time, giving notes, giving direction, listening to approval, and all of this is happening in real time because your audio goes right into the track. That is the key, and that's why it's such a hugely popular tool, and why as a voice actor, you probably should be, at the very least, highly familiar with it, if not owning a license. And if you want to do that, go to sourceelements.com. They have a brand new website, by the way, too. Go check it out. Get familiar and get yourself a trial license so you can start learning how to use it. And you'll find out very quickly whether your studio is ready for Source Connect when you start testing it We can help you if you're not, so don't worry about that. Dan and I and the team at Source Elements as well will love to give you a little bit of advice to get your studio up to par. But anyway, there you go. Thank you, Source Elements. Thank you, Robert. And thank you, Rebecca, for sponsoring us for so long. We really appreciate it. And let's get back to the rest of the show right after this.
Yeah, hi, this is Carlos Alazraqui, the voice of Rocco, and you're watching VoiceOver Body Shop.
And we're back, and we're going to rack it up for Tech Talk. We're going to have the Pro Audio Suite guys with us. Should make your tech update rather interesting. See what they think about some of the weird stuff that you find. Anyway, next week on this very show, we will have Tech Talk number 82. Believe it or don't, it just goes on and on. There's just so much to talk about.
Tech never stops.
It just becomes the next tech. Anyway, let's see here. We have our donors of the week, like Jonathan Grant.
Oh my gosh. Christopher Epperson.
Sarah Borges.
Philip Sapir.
Tom Pinto.
Shelley Avellino.
George Whittam Sr.
That's right. Brian Page.
Patty Gibbons.
Rob Ryder.
Greg Thomas.
A Doctor Voice.
Antland Productions. Uncle Roy.
Shauna Pennington Baird.
Martha Kahn.
Don Griffith.
Trey Mosley.
Diana Birdsall.
And Sandra Manweller. If you want to make a donation to the show to keep the amazing technical quality that we have achieved over the last 11 years, if you go to our homepage, vobs.tv, there's a button that says Donate Now. You can give us $1. You can give us $1 a month. You can give us $10 a month. You can be like some people who give us $500 a month.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I thought that would be worth it. Anyway, that's important. Also, you can join our mailing list there, and you'll get an update of what we're going to be doing this week. So you know that you have to tune in to catch that stuff. We also need to thank our sponsors like Harlan Hogan's VoiceOver Essentials,
VoiceOver Extra,
Source Elements,
VOHeroes.com,
VoiceActorWebsites.com,
JMC Demos, and
WorldVoices.org, the Industry Association of Freelance Voice Talent. Yes,
Welcome.
I'm the president, but I'm also a member.
And I got to slip in my little promotion. It's amazing how many people don't use this coupon code. You guys are crazy. Leaving money on 20% off any service at georgethe.tech. That's a booked service, scheduled service, or a webinar. If you use VOBS Fan 2022. Yeah, 20% off.
All right. Very good. We need to thank Jeff Holman for doing a great job in the chat room and getting those questions in there, but he's not done yet. We still got to do Tech Talk. And, of course, Sue Merlino for coming home in hot weather, riding her bike back from the airport, and doing the amazing stuff that she does as our technical director. So we thank her for that. And, of course, Lee Pinney, just for being Lee Pinney. Anyway, that's going to do it for this show, and we're going to re-rack it for Tech Talk. If you got questions, put them in the chat room. Anyway, this isn't an easy business. There's so much you got to know, but as long as your audio sounds good.
It is good.
I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop,
or VOBS. See you in a bit. All right.
So do you guys want to stick around now?
Sure.
Do you have time?
I didn't know there was a way out. Darn it.
Yes, unfortunately, you can't leave.
See that let's see that leave studio down the button, Robert. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tech Talk is
milking it.
Yeah. Tech Talk's a slightly different format where George has a bunch of topics that he talks about that are sometimes I find completely irrelevant, but that doesn't really matter.
I know the feeling of being totally irrelevant.
Yeah. Anyway, so and we'll call on you guys. You guys listen in and feel free to chime in while George is doing that stuff, and then we will solicit more questions from our vast worldwide audience that you guys can address.
Sure.
Anyway, are we ready, Ms. Merlino? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. Let's do Tech Talk. Get your questions in the chat room now, because these guys know how to answer them. Let's roll.
3, 2.
Hey, it's time for VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk. Yeah, we got some great guests with us. We usually don't have guests for Tech Talk, but we've got Robert Marshall and Andrew Peters and Robbo Robertson joining us from the Pro Audio Suite. And if you've got a question about your home voiceover studio,
boy, now's the time.
Now's the time, because these guys will go right over your head with probably more stuff.
Over, under, and right through the middle.
Absolutely. So get those questions into the chat room right now, and let's get rolling. It's time for Tech Talk on VoiceOver Body Shop right now.
From the outer reaches, they came, bearing the knowledge of what it takes to properly record your voiceover audio. And together, from the center of the VO universe, they bring it to you now. George Whittam, the engineer to the VO stars, a Virginia Tech grad with the skills to build, set up, and maintain the professional VO studios of the biggest names in VO today. And you, Dan Leonard, the voiceover home studio master, a professional voice talent with the knowledge and experience to help you create a professional sounding home VO studio. And each week, they allow you into their world, making the complex simple, debunking the myths of what it takes to create great sounding audio, answering your questions, showing you the latest and greatest in VO tech, and having a dandy time doing it. Welcome to VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk.
VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk is brought to you by VoiceOverEssentials.com, home of Harlan Hogan's signature products, Source Elements, remote studio connections for everyone, VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your VO website isn't a pain in the butt, VOHeroes.com, become a hero to your clients with award-winning voiceover training, J. Michael Collins Demos, when quality matters, and VoiceOver Extra, your daily resource for VO success.
And now, live to drive from their super secret clubhouse and studio in Sherman Oaks, California, here are the guys.
Well, hello there. I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
Or VO, everybody.
BS.
Tech Talk. Tech Talk, Tech Talk, Tech Talk. We're here.
I like your intro, can I just say? It's very effective.
Oh, thank you.
Man. Yeah. That's all Dan right there.
Yeah. It's, you know.
The reverb especially is just makes it,
oh gosh, thank you. Coming from a producer, that makes me feel.
Was that a PCM 60 or a Burkasty? Which
it was probably my 416 anyway.
Yeah.
If you've got a question for these wonderful audio folk that we have with us this week from the Pro Audio Suite, George's other podcast, which is a little looser than
it's like an awkward Thanksgiving dinner. Where the other family shows.
Yeah, but who's the turkey? Yeah, that's the
question. Well, I'm supposed to hit the rim shot button. Anyway, I
don't have the Roadcaster on. I'm not on the Roadcaster today.
Well, wait a second. Let me find it. Where's the rim shot? The rim shot is. There it is.
Yay!
All right.
Nothing like a late sound effect.
The joys of live radio.
I know.
Live television. Yeah, exactly.
But that's what we love about this show is that we do it live, although
warts and all.
Yes,
yeah.
And
well, it's also exactly the reason we don't do ours live.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Oh, but it's more fun this way. You know,
True,
you never know what's going to
indeed.
happen. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, but that's just such a weird saying because if you buy a box of chocolates, it says what it is on the outside. Otherwise, you wouldn't buy it. So I never got that. Life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Well, read the freaking label. Then you know exactly what you're going to get.
Then I look at it.
They don't always have a decoder thing that says which one is in what area. And plus, if someone eats enough of them out of the box, then they start getting shuffled around, and you have no idea which one is which. So then you have to go by the look of them. But by the time you start trying to analyze it, the person holding the box offering you a chocolate is like, get on with it. And then you grab a random chocolate, and you don't know what you're going to get. And there you go.
And it's the orange flavor. It's always the orange.
It's always the weird. Yeah, what is that doing in chocolate?
I always get the nougat, and I hate nougat. But anyway.
Well, see, you know, nougat, we say nougat.
Yeah, nougat.
Really?
Oh, really?
Does that mean we're a bit French or something?
Okay.
Ooh la la.
I think so.
Now, the other
It's
great
a
thing
weird
about
word, anyways, like that and banana. Like,
we are all over the place tonight. I mean, aside from being all over the place, but
all over the world.
Yes,
Yeah,
Robert is in Chicago, and Andrew, you are in.
Well, I'm actually I'm out of Melbourne. I'm down the coast of Melbourne. And if anyone's watching Netflix currently, and there's a TV show or series called Surviving Summer.
I thought you were going to say Byron Bays. But no, Surviving Summer.
Not Byron Bays. No. Surviving Summer, if you want to check it out and see where I live, that's where it was all shot. But it's actually kind of weird because
You're
they're
there.
on our beach, and then they're out surfing on another beach, and they're pretending it's the same place, and everyone locally is going, it's doing my head
That's
in.
a Hollywood
Anyway.
trick.
Right.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and Robbo, you're in Sydney.
I am. Sid Vegas. That's right.
Or as we like to call it, Underwater World.
Underwater world.
Underwater.
Yeah,
Sydney
we've had some
Barrett.
Floods. Yeah, Sydney Barrett.
Anyway, one of the things that I think people need to understand, if you haven't figured it out already when we do VoiceOver Body Shop, is telling you about what George and I do, which is help you create and maintain your home voiceover studios. And it's
time for a plug.
Yes.
Boom tish.
Yes. I mean, it's very, very specific to you and to your particular environment. And that's what we do is we will come in and we'll say, where's the best place to record? Oh, you have a booth? Okay. How do you use it? And
Which
that's
side of
what
the
we
mic
do.
do you talk into?
That's right. Yeah.
Hopefully
but,
the right side.
amazingly, some people don't
Hold
get
this
that.
up to a lot of people and ask them which way you should talk into this mic. And I guarantee
They're
most
gonna
of
go
them
for
will
that
get
job.
it wrong.
Yes.
Even if you put a sign directly on the wall next to the microphone that says to speak into the side of it,
Which side?
especially if you're the type that might edit video, you will probably going to take the same microphone and point it straight at you and start talking to the front of it
right.
and ignoring the sign that's there to.
Yes, indeed.
And wonder why it is you sound like this. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's time for George's tech update in a minute. But first, we got to tell you that if you want to work with one of us, whether it's me or George, you can do that. We are professionals. We will consult with you. We can come into your home if you happen to be in the greater Los Angeles area.
Occasionally we travel. Occasionally.
Yeah, we do travel. And
No restraining order.
no, not yet.
Not
I've
anymore.
not gotten
Wow,
any.
that's
But we don't like sneak in the back window. We just we actually ring the bell and knock on the door. But if you want to work with one of us, because we have lots of interesting services to make sure that you sound your best, if you want to work with George, where do you go?
Well, you head over to georgethe.tech, of course. My name is my address. There's a lot going on over there. The site is will be the current site that you see will be sunsetted soon. And is that enough S alliteration for you? It will be going away. So if you like my old school website, you better go look at it now, because in about a month or so, it's going to be gone. But that's where you can find all my services over there. Sound checks, stacks, studio design, and audiobook mastering, processing, stacks, all that kind of stuff happens over there. georgethe.tech. And Dan, you have your own home on the web with a freshly painted website, and that's at
homevoiceoverstudio.com. Indeed. Yes, it is brand spanking new. The Specimen Collection Cup is now at the top of the page, not at the bottom. So when you come to my page, you'll go, oh, that's where I submit my audio so Dan can analyze it. And for $25...
audio, folks. Only audio.
Yeah.
Only
Specimen.
Yes.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like when John Oliver asked people to send in their tidings or something for?
I don't know where I keep my tidings, but anyway, if you go over there for $25, I will analyze your existing audio and either tell you it needs a little bit of work or it's fabulous, and you don't need my help. but generally there's always something I can come up with, and so go on over to Home Voiceover Studio and check that out. And now it's time for George's weekly tech update. Take it away, George the Tech.
I will not stretch this one out because we've got so much talent here today, and I don't want to waste everybody's precious time. But I did get something sent to me recently. Our friends over at Mojave Audio, and I say friends because I've known Dusty Wakeman over there for a long time. They were a very early supporter of the SAG-AFTRA Don LaFontaine voiceover lab. And so we've known them a long time, and they do make some great mics. And he said, George, I don't know why you don't have one of our mics, so here you go. And here it is. So this is the MA50. This is their entry point microphone. Okay, they're most accessibly priced. I believe it's $500 US. So certainly not a cheap microphone, but if you know anything about Mojave, the founder, the guy that actually invents the microphones, he's David Royer. You may have heard of Royer microphone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He is a genius, and he is very, very particular about what they sell, even if it's very affordable. And so even at the price point of the MA50, it's still a very, very high quality microphone. And this is probably where a lot of folks are going to start their voiceover journey in their lineup. Now, they have the MA301 FET. That's if you want to go with a multi-pattern microphone and you want more options. But the MA50 is a nice, straightforward, single pattern, no frills, no switches, no bells and whistles, just a really clean, pure microphone. And it's something that I will hopefully be using and reviewing shortly. But this is literally, I literally opened the box right before we started taping tonight.
I watched him actually open it.
And then this is
really exciting.
The shock mount, pretty standard fare right there. It's an elastic shock mount. And that's it. In a nice box, a nice road case. There you go. Nice microphone. Thanks, Dusty. We'll give it its due and we'll start using it for real shortly, I promise.
I think I used a Mojave years ago. The first time I stumbled across was a studio in a guy called Tristan Meredith, if you're watching Tristan. He had a Mojave, and it was a tube Mojave.
I was going to say, they're more. I know more for tube mics, and they were quite the rage.
They were.
Especially when they first came out.
The MA200, the MA300.
Because I think who was doing a lot of the mic mods before that, and
Jolie?
Yeah, that's right.
Mike Jolie?
Mike Jolie, yeah.
Mike mods, right.
It was right around that.
What's the connection with him and Mojave?
I think they came on the scene right at the same time. Mojave was one of the early independent mic makers. Like Peluso was early on in there. Yeah. Before that, it was always AKG and Neumann.
The big usual suspects.
And there weren't any boutique mic companies. And then Mojave, Peluso shows up. There's one in Australia we won't talk about. And
Seinfeld.
Right. So I put them in that category. And then along that same time was because a lot of what these these guys were building off of was the ability to be able to buy parts to get reasonably high quality capsules, or they were able to get the machinery to make their own capsules, and it was the next level in boutique.
I've met David. I know that for a fact that he does personally listen to every single mic that leaves their plant there, and it's up right here in Burbank in California. And he's a control freak. He is, and so that's why they're not going to make a $300, $200, $100 mic. It's just not possible. They're not wanting to play at that level. This is an affordable entry point, but still a very high quality, well made and checked out mic. So that's the Mojave. We'll do some more testing of it.
Yeah. I think that you and I need to go over there, George, and do a remote session over there.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. I know they would love to do it. Absolutely, that would be a blast.
Well, make a call. Let's make it happen.
Another more mundane topic, but anyway, because I had a couple of these sitting around, I recently had to set up a studio where we put a webcam in the booth, and the booth is, by the routing of the wiring, probably 20 feet from the computer. And one of the features we needed to have was a webcam, because what's happening is the actors in the booth, the producer, and the whoever else, the clients, I guess,
Engineer,
sitting in another room, right? So we don't have a window. We don't have a way to see them. So we're using a webcam. Getting that webcam signal from the booth all the way over to the Mac was a little bit of a challenge.
This is in a studio where they don't have a direct window, so they're using a CCTV. I've been at a few studios that do it that way.
And the reason for this is the wall that's between the booth and the other room is a shear wall in a condo. We couldn't move it. We couldn't modify it. We couldn't mess with the shear wall. It's structural, right?
Yeah.
So we
might end up
went
like Florida.
Yeah, so we ended up with a webcam, and it works fine, except for the distance, right? I bought a USB 3.0 extension cable on Amazon. We plugged it in, and the camera frame rate was like that. It was really, really bad.
Wow.
And it said USB 3.0 extension, right? The thing was, it wasn't active extender. There's differences between these extensions. If you're running webcams are particularly picky about the speed of the connection and everything. You want to make sure it's an active USB extender. This one happens to be, telltale sign usually is that they have a pretty big chunky connector on one end because there's actually circuitry in here. So that's getting electricity from the USB port on the computer. That's running through the cable and actually providing power to this end where the camera plugs in. This actually, we got another one in there that uses Ethernet. It's so funny. I happen to have it from another job. It was in a bin, and I wasn't sure. Not trash, a container. It was in a container in my car that had extra cables, and sure enough, there it was. And the one that I found actually extends the connection over Cat 5.
Yep.
And it actually worked perfectly. I was shocked how well it worked. So anyway, I had already bought another one because I wasn't sure if the one I had would work, and that one looks something like this. Now this is sort of the next level of extender.
That's a nice one, yeah.
Yeah. What's cool about this one is you can run very long distances over Cat 6, and it's also a USB hub. So you're getting the you can't see it because of the pictures not showing the USB ports. But on the other side of this box are 4 USB 2.0 ports. So now you can put this in your booth, plug in multiple devices, a keyboard, a mouse, maybe an eye lock. You could have everything that you want to have in your booth with you plugged into this, and then it extends over a normal Cat 6. I think it's Cat 5 actually, Ethernet cable, which are extremely cheap, and they can run a long, long distance. So this is the kind of thing you want to look at. Is it says 60M. This one is spec to run up to 60 meters. So
And what's something like that worth, George?
60 US.
Yeah, there you go.
Amazon Prime. I mean, it came like in 2 days.
I've dealt with this stuff a ton. I mean, because extending USB is the same nightmare as extending HDMI.
Right. It is.
And so you need, it's funny because you said that one's active, but a lot of the active USB extenders I've seen, they actually have a wall wart on the receiving side.
Yes. I meant to say that. The one that I ended up using in the studio, it has 2 little tails, right? One has USB male, the other one female, and then there's an Ethernet port on the other side that connects. But the one end, the receiving end, the one that's in the booth, where the camera plugs in, has a power supply. Exactly, it plugs in. Whereas this one doesn't. This one relies on the fact that you're plugging it into a USB 3 port. You see, it's blue.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like this one says it's active, but there's no extra power than the source of the original USB. So it's not.
That's right.
It's not in any way repeating or. Is that really active, or is that?
Is that an amplifier? Is it more an amplifier than anything?
It's active because it's using that 900 milliamp USB 3 power to power this electronics that are in this cable. So that's what makes it. But if you don't plug this into a USB 3 connector, you will not get that power, and it probably won't work. So that's why I thought I would show these off, because they're not all the same, and you have to be. So I would recommend buying 2 completely different ones if you're like concerned about something working. They're cheap enough. You can get return and get more than one and test them both, because you might one may work and the other one may not.
I've found that the Ethernet ones for me didn't work as well, in the studio. But the ones I had were not powered; they were just like Ethernet on either end, and that was it.
Yeah. No, I think powered is the key word here, that they have a power supply that provides some sort of a booster or amplifier that provides that strong signal. And again, that seemed to be what worked. And the cable I had, the Ethernet cable I happened to have, was one of those flat, very low profile cables, and it was 50 feet long. It was much longer than needed, right? Didn't matter. It still worked flawlessly. So
Great.
there you go. Moving on to software. I've started playing around with this thing called SoundDesk, and SoundDesk allows you to emulate pretty closely the fun that you can have with an Apollo, where you get to plug in processing into a signal and record directly through it.
I was thinking of it more as like a DAW without the tracks.
It is. So this is a way to mix multiple inputs, send them to multiple places, and have them be monitored or recorded into software. It's a $30 application. Is it simple? No, it is not. It's not that
neither
simple.
is an Apollo twin. So
Neither is an Apollo
Exactly.
twin. It's definitely something to wrap your head around. If you're familiar with something called Loopback and a few other tools, it's kind of similar in some ways to what that does. But this emulates more of an actual mixer. But what it lets you do is you can have multiple channels of audio come in and have it go back out the other side. But what's most interesting about it is their sound driver. It has a mode called all-in-one. And what all-in-one mode does is it takes literally every single audio channel available in your system from every device and bakes them all into one super big audio device. And now it lets you send things in ways in and out of things in a way that were really difficult to do. And it's really
basically an
clever.
aggregate device in a sense, isn't it?
Yeah, it's creating its own aggregated audio device where you're bundling together multiple things. What have I done with it so far? You're probably wondering. The only thing I've done
with it so far, George?
The only thing I've done is I used it to a clubhouse. I wore my headset microphone that has a little boom mic on it. It's not an expensive mic by any means. And I threw it in I'll take it on the road, right? And I'm sitting in the airport terminal to fly back from Philadelphia to LA on Thursday. Or no, Friday. And I want to do my clubhouse that I do, this one that I do every twice a week for the George the Tech customers, and not have it sound like total garbage and have it be really noisy. So I ran my mic through a series of plugins. I was using Bertom denoiser, and I was using a Shep's omni-channel Wavis plugin because I had just gotten it, and I was able to throw all this stuff in. And because of the really low latency that a modern computer, I'm using a MacBook Air M1, I was able to monitor all that processing. So I was actually hearing what everybody else was hearing with an extremely small amount of delay. It was enough to detect it. It wasn't perfectly zero. It wasn't zero. It was probably 20 to 30 milliseconds, but it was short enough that I could monitor what I was sending out. And so I was getting the effect, in essence, that you're getting from a $600 plus Apollo for a $30 plugin or application. So it proved to work. It was pretty impressive. I still wouldn't recommend it to everybody, especially if you're not needing to do anything live. It's really not necessary. But for those who have unique use cases that want to have more control over your audio signal before it's recorded, this is an option for doing that.
Yeah.
So that's sound.
George, what's it giving me that Nexus isn't giving me then? Source Nexus.
So yeah, good point.
I can see
source
the
elements.
ability
You
to
could put
pan.
Nexus in this and really get confusing.
Yeah, okay.
You can start.
I'm confused already.
So later in this episode, I'm going to give Robert the opportunity to do his own commercial for Nexus, just because he's here and he can explain it better than anyone else.
Everybody should have Nexus. Yeah.
Nexus is a way to send audio from one thing to another thing inside your computer, and Robert can expand on this. It's kind of like that, but it also has this mixing capability. It's a more complex tool.
I would say that Nexus uses the DAW for that mixing capability.
Right.
Yeah,
Nexus is a companion for your DAW, Pro Tools, or whatever.
See, I can
this
see-
is meant to be another tool altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, go ahead.
I was just going to say I can see Pro Tools using Nexus what that's doing. I guess is that sort of pretty much summing it up, George? Should that be close?
Yeah.
Like you put Nexus
totally.
and Pro Tools together, you could do what you're getting from that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's
You
correct.
take Pro Tools and Nexus and you have basically SoundDesk.
If you have Pro Tools, you do not need SoundDesk likely because you have all the capabilities you need. It's just that SoundDesk I think it's clever that it has the all-in-one audio driver, which aggregates everything together for you. So that's
how's that not like just going to the Mac and slamming together an aggregate device?
It's essentially, I think, the same. It's just that it just does it with a click.
I see.
It just does it. So, and it has a routing matrix if you really want to get in the weeds. It has a routing matrix, and it shows every software running on the computer that has audio and lets you assign them to different points in the matrix. So it can get pretty
interesting,
fancy.
Yeah. Wow.
Dan, do you have a thing to tag on to this conversation today?
What I was going to tag on was that if you've got a question out there, anybody, throw it in the chat room, whether you're on Facebook Live or whether you are watching on YouTube, and or on a ham radio, which apparently is still fairly popular.
Only with eggs.
You might use one of those mics behind you on a ham radio.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway, throw them in the chat room, and then Jeff Holman is back there somewhere. Jeff, are you back? Yeah, he's somewhere around here, and he will relay those questions to us and our great guest, Andrew Peters, Robert Marshall, and Robbo Robertson, joining us from the Pro Audio Suite. These guys know their stuff, so throw those questions in there.
That's scary.
Yeah, I know. All right, well, we're gonna let the Pro Audio Suite guys get into what they want to talk about a little bit and your questions right after these important messages. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Bill Farmer, and you are watching Voice Over Body Shop. It's great.
Inflated prices? Not at voiceoveressentials.com. Despite the nationwide inflation rate of over 8%, VoiceOver Essentials refuses to raise prices. In fact, they refuse to even say the I word. Their inventory is large on all their products, and they purchase them before the current economic conditions. It's simply wrong to increase profit as many retailers are doing right now. So Harlan & Company promised not to raise their prices during difficult times for everyone. They'll stay the course, steady and sure. Flat and firm, solid and steadfast. Okay, enough. You get the point. Unfortunately, they're under the same inflationary pressures as everyone else, and they'll need to restock in the not-so-distant future. No doubt there'll be sticker shock for them and you. So, right now is the time to order that Portabooth Pro or VO1A voiceover microphone and their VO 2.0 headphones. Fight inflation at voiceoveressentials.com.
Hey, it's the time of the show where I stop chatting in the chat room and do a commercial. And we're going to do something a little differently tonight because we have a special guest, and that is Robert Marshall, the man from Source Elements. And I wanted to have him on to talk briefly. We'll try to keep it short. It's just a commercial, not an infomercial, about a different product that we don't talk about much, and that's Nexus. Robert, would you come on and talk to us about Nexus? We would sure appreciate it.
On the spot. Wow.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, I do this every week for you guys. I improvise a spot. So Nexus, something that might be new to a lot of our viewers that hear me talk about Source Connect most of the time. Tell us a couple of unique things that make it a useful tool for anybody recording in their home studio. And I would say mainly, would you say it's something that's suited for the producer side of things?
It's a lot suited for the producer. I would say the quickest thing is for the audio engineers and producers, what it lets them do is stay in their audio workstation, typically Pro Tools, but could be Logic or whatever. And it lets them very easily interface that workstation with a whole bunch of outside other applications and communication systems that might not present themselves as plugins or might not even be able to address multi-channel audio. So Nexus lets any application, any web browser, music player, QuickTime player, etc.
Communications, like a
Zoom
type
Zooms
thing,
and Skypes and Source
all that
Connects.
stuff.
So like basically Source Connect has a plugin built into it, but that plugin only does its thing for Source Connect, trades audio to and from Source Connect, the Link plugin. So think of Nexus as like the bigger version of Link that now does that same trick for every application and service inside your computer. And so now the audio engineer can have a voice talent coming in, send audio to remote clients, feed the audio from the remote clients back to the talent, bring in a website that everyone's like, well, it was like this on that YouTube video. Okay, here, I'll play the YouTube video for you too. You can do all that inside your workstation, which you're very familiar with.
Yeah. And if
then,
you end up on a session on Source Connect and they don't know how to use this on the other end, oh, good luck. Because this is by far the best way to do it. And, I recommend it's been a couple years now with the pandemic. This tool and others that allow remote collaboration are highly and well established now into what they're doing. Chances are if there's a Zoom happening during a Source Connect, they're going to be using this. It's got to be Nexus. But make sure that whoever you're working with knows how to use this because it is a very powerful way to do it. And before we go, Robert, there's 3 different levels of it, right?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So there used to be 3 different levels. Now there's just Nexus because we got with too many products and people are like, I don't understand, what do I need? And so we just simplified everything. And so now there's just Nexus. There used to be a basic and Nexus Pro. Now there's just Nexus. And I think maybe one of the obvious questions is why would I need this as a voice talent? And I would say probably the best reason that a voice talent needs would maybe want Nexus is they're in a session and the clients aren't hiring an engineer. They just want to zoom in and have you record everything, but they're being a little bit presumptuous and they want you to record separate takes and manage the takes, and they want you to play back things. Like in the middle of the session, can you go back and play take 5? We're at take 10 or whatever. And so if you need to play back out of your recording software, Nexus would just do that very easily for you, especially if you're in anything from Adobe Audition to Pro Tools to Logic, etc.
Got it.
And there's certainly ways to do it outside, and that's but the nice thing about Nexus is it does it in your workstation.
Yeah. So did they get it is it a subscription or a one-time buy?
Either. It's $2.95 one time or $12 a month. Yeah.
All right, great, man. Well, there you go. It did turn into an infomercial. What can I tell you? But
because I'm here,
because Robert's here. But hey, that's what's cool about doing the show. Thanks, Robert, and thank you, Source Elements, for your support of VOBS. Let's get on with the show with more commercials right after this.
Well, hello there. I bet you weren't expecting to hear some big-voiced announcer guy on your new orientation training for Snapchat, were you?
This is Virgin Radio. Well, okay, we're not that innocent.
There's jeans for wearing and there's jeans for working. Dickies, because I ain't here to look pretty.
She's a champion of progressive values, a leader for California, and a voice for America.
It's smart. It's a phone. It's a smartphone. But it's so much more. The files are ready. Don't forget to pick up the eggs. What time is hockey practice? Check out this song.
It's the end of the road for Rick. It's just you and me, Rick. When hope is lost.
The i8 from BMW. Who said saving the planet couldn't be stylish?
Hey, it's J. Michael Collins. Bet you think I'm going to try and sell you a demo now, huh? I think they speak for themselves. But I will give you my email. It's jmichael@jmcvoiceover.com. Now, if Dan will stop waxing his mustache for a minute, we'll get back to the show.
Before time began, there was VOBS.TV. Watch or else.
All right,
John Bailey.
Yes.
We're back.
The epic voice guy. Anyway, speaking of blowing your mind, before we started the show, George and I were watching the first pictures from the Webb telescope, which, if that's going to blow your mind, it's like, whoa, there's galaxies and there's as many galaxies as there are stars.
The thing operates at minus 400 degrees Kelvin.
Wait. How can there be as many galaxies as there are stars if there's stars and galaxies?
There you go.
I was talking visually within the frame.
I was trying to sound smart, and I said minus 400 degrees Kelvin. Everybody's like, "There's no such thing as negative Kelvin." Sorry, it starts at 0.
Nothing's moving at all.
It operates at nearly 0 degrees Kelvin, and it will look back to about 300,000 light years before, years before after the Big Bang, or something like that. It's insane. I'm
billions of years into the
It's
past.
mind blowing.
But that's
by the time you've heard and seen this, it's already.
We're all dead.
Yes, we've been gone for several billion years. Yeah. Somebody watching on another planet. But
that's right. Yeah.
Maybe we can put the Pro Audio Suite and VOBS on a golden record and let it float out in space until
I think it's a very good idea.
Something else more intelligent.
Chuck Berry's
now it's going to take
Chuck Berry's out there, yeah.
That's right. Send more Chuck Berry. But, I mean, the thing is we could send that out there. It'll take 10,000 years for a response, and then, what's the response?
And then they'll ask
what
a
was
question.
that? What did you say that again?
No, they'll ask a question like, how do I get rid of the boomy sound in my booth? And I really need advice. And also, do you do a house call? I'm over here on Jupiter 9.
That's right.
That's right.
Anyway, this is a very special session of VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk because we got some super duper techies with us. We have Robert Marshall and Robbo Robertson and Andrew Peters from George's other podcast, the Pro Audio Suite.
Now, here's something really techie. Sorry
please,
to interrupt, Dan.
Go for it.
And it's got nothing to do with this at all, really. Only to the point that
God, we really are.
Robert, back in I know it's getting weird now. Back in 2000, I think 2006, you were working on Source Connect. Is that correct? Source Elements, Robert?
Yeah, so Source Connect was an idea in my head for pretty much as many years as I was introduced to the internet and I began working with ISDN. So somehow the idea began forming somewhere between 1998 and by the time 2004 rolls around, I've become annoying enough to my boss that I, like one of the things he said to me was like, well, prove you can stream audio over the internet or something. And I ended up streaming from the California office to the Chicago office to the California office. I had a huge amount of latency, but I was able to get audio across intact. And so that was one proof. And then we talked to various, different people who were at companies that had made products or software people. And it was always like, yeah, we could build Source Connect for you. That'll be, $1 million or more. And it was always some crazy high price to develop it. And this is right around the same time, like Skype is just starting at the same time as well. So
I think you're before Skype, because the only reason I'm saying this is because at the same time you were streaming audio, I was working on a company, the ill-fated real-time casting, but the first iteration of real-time casting was actually on-camera casting. And the idea was that instead of going in front of a camera, someone films you on a VHS, they send it an overnight bag to the client. The client watches the castings or auditions, calls it, then people have to come back. It takes like weeks by the time they actually get someone. I said to a techie mate of mine, there's got to be some way of actually streaming the video. And we did in 2006. I can still remember sitting in a house. We had a computer in one room, a computer in another room, and we streamed from pre-Skype, streamed video from one room to another, which was pretty amazing. Yeah. So we were both doing similar things at the same time, which is kind of spooky.
I remember the first version of Source Connect that we got back, and it was just a line command application, right? You'd have to type commands into a terminal to make it do stuff. And even more than the latency I had in my initial tests, and we stream from one side to the other, and it takes like 45 seconds for the audio to get through. And I'm thinking to myself, like, whose memory is storing it, actually? Like, how could it take that long? And eventually, obviously, the latency got driven down. So from 2004 to 2005, roughly, we did the R&D and made Source Connect version 1. And then it was just a trip from there. We, just first couple of years were super slow. It was always like, this sucks compared to ISDN. It was probably made a little bit before the internet really was able to handle this.
I would say it was around Source Connect 3 where it really came into its own.
Yeah.
And that's when we built the VO2Go kits for Steve Nafshin.
Yeah.
Which he ran a business
which was still
called
bridging to ISDN, because ISDN was still like heavily in.
Out of here was his business. And he was a specifically built bridge to connect ISDN to Source Connect, and 3.0 is, I think we might have started before 3, but I feel like 3
had a lot. I mean, so basically 3 was the first version that had auto restore and auto replace in it as well. And that was sort of our response to, like, you know what, you just can't rely on the internet. And that's kind of true to this day. It's gotten better, but you really don't know when you're going to get, like, go walk in a park and see if you get some bird shit on you, and you probably will at some point.
Yeah. Numbers game.
It's gonna
Number
happen.
two's game.
Like eventually. So that was, and then I'm trying to think when it was. It was like growing steadily up until I left the post house that we started out of, and around the same time, Rebecca had acquired the company, and that was also really motivating because there was just it was like sort of a rebirth, sort of. And actually, it's funny because if you remember, our website was Phoenix at that point, and we finally just bridged past Phoenix, and the new website that just launched. But yeah, and then right around that time when Rebecca sort of picked it up and was like the principal at that point, that's when Source Connect Now came out. And we also shortly after that finished Source Live, which was, again, I think another one of those things that was just a little bit ahead of its time because we were trying to stream video to the clients in real time. But you really couldn't stream reliable, good video, 30 frames a second that was smooth so that clients could, make sound design and lip sync comments off of it. So that Source Live, the initial version, had, like a 3-second latency if it was running well. And if it was not running well, it was a 10-second latency. And so it was kind of like a great idea, but the latency made sessions rough. And it was only for the people that absolutely had to be remote on their sessions. But then, whenever that was, 2012 or 13, I think, when Source Live comes out, 2020, we do Source Live 2, knock the latency down to basically the same as Source Connect, like 200 milliseconds, 300. And now, as we know, it's like the whole world is remote, and we just
the whole world is remote.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
And we just were learning these lessons early on and trying to position the product when no one knew that they completely needed it, and then COVID just kind of accelerated.
And then you didn't sleep for 2 years.
So let me think.
That's right. True. It really is true. I mean, it's like
exactly started COVID anyway.
We did.
Yes.
In China, I don't think so. Yeah.
No, we think Robert
source
probably
elements,
more.
yeah.
But it's
We have
funny
a few
because
questions.
back in 2008, I remember. I don't know how I stumbled across Source Connect, but I think it was 2007, 2008.
It's pretty early on. I mean, we were only a few years old.
Yeah, and I was going for a session in a studio, and the guy who owned the studio I was doing the session in was a real techie dude, Mike Slater. And I walked in, and I said, I've just discovered this thing, and it's called Source Connect. And he was on his laptop, he leaned aside, and I looked at his screen, and he was looking at Source Connect. And he said, I'm just looking at it now. I went, wow, that's incredible. I only saw it yesterday. He said, well, if you buy it, I'll buy it, and then we can test it. I went, okay, let's do it. So we did. Yeah. So we both bought it, and we just started testing to see, if this thing was going to work. And the first session I ever did on Source Connect was with Mike. Unfortunately, the client I was doing the session with didn't like the fact I wasn't in there and never booked me again. Boo. Anyway,
happy to lose you a gig there.
That went well.
Well, thank you, Robert.
Yeah. I want to get to our questions. We do have a few that have come in, believe it or not, from the guests. And some of them involve you guys specifically, meaning Robert, Andrew, and Robbo. The first one is from Richard Green. He's one of our team members of George the Tech as well. And he says, I have a question for each of you guys. What's on the wall in front of you? So in other words, the thing that none of us can see, we want to know what's on the other side of the camera. So what is each of you, besides the computer monitor, what's on the other side of you?
Let's see. Could I join another StreamYard link really quick with my phone? I'll mute the audio.
Yeah, you can try.
Yeah, here. Let me find your link here.
Robbo mistakenly moved his camera and froze. Sorry, Robbo.
Yeah, that's why I'm not touching mine. It'd be dead.
Here we go.
Here we go. Let me have a look, see if I can do the same.
Dan,
thing.
I'm doing this to make your life hell.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just
Dan. I just sitting here.
Sue is going crazy now.
Allow mic and camera. Allow.
Don't allow mic.
But no, I have to mute
the
mic.
camera.
Yeah. Can I do?
And you have to turn your speaker all the way down on your phone, or it will start to echo back quickly.
Yeah. Okay, it's saying allow.
Yeah. So much for getting any more calls today, but
All right. So if I
well, while they're doing that, I'm going to go to the next question real quick because I think it's something I can answer.
Oh, you can't see, can you? No.
Am I in?
Oh yeah,
You
no,
are.
Robertson.
Okay.
Robert's the first one in with the
Okay, so
iPhone view.
How do I get
basically
the
here
camera?
is the cave, which is here you go. Gear.
Oh, you're in the cave. Okay, yeah.
The cave.
Here, I'm looking at myself. How do I switch the camera around?
I don't know.
Just flip the phone.
I couldn't tell you. Just turn it around.
All right.
You can tell who the techie people are, can't
There
you?
we go. Oh my God!
Yeah, now that's a studio.
Yeah,
Catch
dirty rat.
bays, more gear, very tasty compressor, like a lot. Neve,
Okay.
Amic, old mixer, and then here I'll take my headphones off. So I want to hear you for a second.
Hey, Robert, your flies are undone. Can you hear me, Robert?
Nope.
I'm gonna turn on his mic so we can hear him.
Yeah.
Oh, he can't. He's on mute. Robert, you know you're not on mic, right?
Bathroom, kitchen, road.
Nice studio.
That's a full-on studio there.
Yeah,
Holy cow,
really.
that's a full-on studio.
Amplifiers.
Yes. And by the way, you don't need all that stuff to do voiceover in your closet.
Yeah. Has mine gone through? I can see. I'm probably. I don't know.
Yes, it has.
It has.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it has to. Okay, so if I... Oh, there it is. So behind my computer, which you're seeing there, is some outboard gear, which I think everyone loves. There's LA610,
Looks nice.
Grace Design, Neve 1073, and 2254. A set of VU meters, which are completely and utterly redundant, but I actually like playing with silly shit like that. MSP10 Yamahas, which are really good. Well, the right one is. The left one's blown a woofer. Genelec, crappy speaker, and hang on, I'm running out of cord. Let me unplug.
Another crappy speaker.
And another, what do we got there? Another Genelec. That's the one that blew, unfortunately, blew the woofer. Then I have behind there, I'm going to have to come off cans as well myself now. Hang on a tick. So, and in there is...
What is that, a Gretsch guitar?
So there's the booth. You can see the mics.
Yep.
In the other bit. And then I have like a spare area there for anyone that is a guestie that comes in to record. Oh yeah, and of course the Sebitron. And paper towel. COVID
Gotta have
special.
that.
Is that a Gretsch guitar? What you got there?
It is a Hagstrom.
Hagstrom.
Yeah.
There you go, Richard. So hopefully we get Robbo back. We lost Robbo for a minute. Actually, it looks like he might be back. There
Yeah,
he
I
is.
think
He's down at the bottom of my screen.
I leave. Do I press? I dare press leave. I will press leave.
Yeah,
There you go.
I'm still
we
here.
still got
Oh,
you.
yes,
We
yeah.
still got you. Okay.
All right, moving on until we get Robbo. Maybe we can get him later. Jeff, there you go, Richard. That was more than you thought, right?
More
Jeff
than we
Holman
thought.
says, I haven't been able to sync my iPhone to my MacBook M1 for most of the year because I'm on the latest iPhone, but it won't sync with Big Sur. This is the Apple, the Apple upgrade spiral, I call it. So it says I need to upgrade to Monterey to sync. Is it Monterey fully baked now to work with Source Connect, Isotope RX, Twisted Wave, etc.? Isn't there some part of Source Connect that doesn't work with Monterey?
the remote transport sync feature doesn't work. That's never going to work because Rewire isn't supported past whatever it is.
So there's a behind-the-scene thing called Rewire that is baked into your software that we don't see.
Yeah, it's a common protocol that other workstations use, and we use it to synchronize two workstations. So if you're reading to picture or doing that type of stuff, that's what Remote Transport Sync uses, and that's Remote Transport Sync uses the Rewire protocol.
Gotcha.
And the company that made Rewire decided not to continue with it after like 15 years. No one was relying on it, so we just cut it off. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is that I'm not sure, but at least early on, the Link plugin stopped working, and also the Queue Manager stopped working. Some of that might have come back because it's a really strange thing. Apple comes out with 12.0, completely breaks Source Connect. It was a very bad 2 weeks. Then, because people just upgraded without,
thinking.
They just clicked on the button,
Or
and then
listening
they had
to
a
us.
session the next day.
Or
And they were
listening to me, yeah.
freaking out. So then 12.1, 12.2, 12.3 all don't work, and we ended up in that run between 12.0 and 12.3 making Source Connect 3.9.2, which we were never supposed to make another 3.9 version, but we had to like basically like unearth it, and then 12.4 comes out and Source Connect 3.9.1 starts working again with Mac OS Monterey, and we're like, oh, so you didn't do anything, Apple? Like, they did, and it fixed itself by some miracle with 12.4. So there's a weird thing where if you're running Mac 12.1, 1, 2, or 3, then you want to use Source Connect 3.9.2, or your better bet is just to upgrade all the way to 12.4. I'm not sure exactly what is and is not working in 12.4, but I think that it's possible that most of it is working again, except remote transport sync. But worst case scenario, the only thing that works is your audio connection and source stream, but the auto restore doesn't replace, and replace doesn't work, and the RTS doesn't work. My advice would be don't upgrade, but then I don't know what to tell you about your cell phone. And that's, yeah.
I haven't synced my iPhone to a Mac in a long time.
I don't sync mine to a Mac.
I don't either. I do iCloud everything, and
I never have to sync it. It's
I don't
except that I can't find my notes sometimes. I'm like, oh, I've got to,
because that's what always bugged me about.
There's all kinds of services that save your like, all your photos, your emails saved in the server. Like, there really isn't anything to sync. All your online accounts keep all your data. You get a new phone, you just log into all your accounts, and the one thing is the photos. If you don't have a good photos like third-party storage for your photos, but
I do rely on the cloud a lot. I realize some people don't like using the cloud, and I get that. They don't want the expense. They don't like the security, privacy, whatever concerns. So that could be an issue for some. But you can also AirDrop everything right from your phone to your laptop.
Absolutely.
And that works right over versions of OS. So you can be on whatever the bleeding edge iPhone OS is that they force you to use, and you can be 3 versions back on Mac OS, and you can AirDrop to that.
You can probably just plug your phone in on USB, and it'll still let you mount it and peruse it like a photo drive. Like, even if you're not syncing it to iTunes.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. iPhones are funny.
I mean, every time I plug my phone in just to charge, my computer's like, do you trust this device? And you're like, sure, I trust it. And that's like, here's your photos on your iPhone, and you just see all your photos right away. Maybe that's the part that's broken now.
Could be, yeah.
We got one question left here. Let's see if we can blow through this one. From Riley, who's watching on YouTube. When recording, it sounds to me I'm speaking at normal level, but playback sounds more like loud whispering. Advice? Sounds to me like...
Loud whispering. So it sounds like this.
I think he's talking to the wrong side of the mic.
Yeah, I was going to say. Sure, talking to the wrong side of the mic.
Yeah. It says, or possibly just in my head that I'm speaking louder since I'm in a small, quiet space. Yeah, maybe. Plus, recently, I've been recording more in the late night hours due to the people above me teaching elephants to break dance during the day.
Oh boy, that's pain, really.
Yeah. I mean, if you're recording and you seem to be speaking at a normal level, but it sounds like, well, you're then that's maybe what's going on. Or you're recording on the microphone on your laptop.
Yep. I still don't know what playback sounds more like loud whispering. I can't interpret that.
Is it just a mic position thing? Is it like you're so close to the microphone, but you're not monitoring yourself? So you're standing there not listening, listening to yourself through the ear, and you're so close to the microphone that it's like hearing what is being described as loud whispering.
Speaking louder since I'm in a quiet small space.
All right. Well, whatever.
I think we'd have to see and hear.
A sample would be helpful.
Yeah, Dan, you could send over a cup to load that audio into.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, give it a listen, and then we can define.
You have to taste it and swish it around a little bit.
Yeah, because I think of loud whisper.
Slight high tones there.
This is a loud whisper.
All right. Well, we're going to bring this chaos to an end with a whimper instead of a bang, as T.S. Eliot once wrote. And we'd like to thank our guests on Tech Talk this week, Robbo Robertson, Andrew Peters, and Robert Marshall from the Pro Audio Suite, and we'll wrap it all up, and then George and I can go on with the rest of our lives right after this.
Oh, no, you can't.
No, George is coming back.
This is the Latin lover narrator from Jane the Virgin, Anthony Mendez, and you're enjoying Dan and George on The VoiceOver Body Shop.
Hey there, I'm David H. Lawrence, the 17th, and with my company VO Heroes and my team of coaches and my community of voiceover talent, we guide voiceover actors along their journey. And you may be watching VOBS here and not nearly as far along as many of the other people who are watching. You may not even have started yet. And we actually specialize in helping you do just that. So if you're watching all the stuff going on here on VOBS and going, I have no idea what they're talking about, I don't know, but I really want to do this, I'd really like to help you. Please go to voheroes.com/start. That's voheroes.com/start. And you can take our Getting Started in Voiceover class, which tells you everything you need to get started as a voice talent. And I'd love to hold your hand along the way and help you with that journey. Again, voheroes.com/start. That's voheroes.com/start.
In these modern times, every business needs a website. When you need a website for your voice acting business, there's only one place to go. Like the name says, voiceactorwebsites.com. Their experience in this niche webmaster market gives them the ability to quickly and easily get you from concept to live online in a much shorter time. When you contact voiceactorwebsites.com, their team of experts and designers really get to know you and what your needs are. They work with you to highlight what you do. Then they create an easily navigable website for your potential clients to get the big picture of who you are and how your voice is the one for them. Plus, VoiceActorWebsites.com has other great resources, like their practice script library and other resources to help your voiceover career flourish. Don't try it yourself. Go with the pros. VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your VO website shouldn't be a pain in the you-know-what.
This is Bill Ratner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Leonard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
Well, another hour has rolled by, and we'd like to thank our friends from the Pro Audio Suite for joining us for the last 2 weeks, talking about stuff that could either go over your head, although I understood it all. Maybe people are a little bit more in tune with some of the higher end stuff that we talk
Hopefully,
about.
if they tune in tonight, they were into what these guys are into, which is talking tech about voiceover, studio recording, engineering, acoustics, and all that fun stuff that we all deal with all the time.
That's right. Next week on this show, hopefully we will be back in the studio, unless everybody's got COVID. But we'll see.
Yeah, what I'm hearing about possible mask mandates again coming up soon.
Yeah, well, we'll have to do the show with masks. Anyway, who are our donors of the week? We can start with Robert Leadham,
Stephen Chandler,
Casey Clack,
Jonathan Grant,
Tom Pinto,
Shelley Avellino,
Patty Gibbons,
Greg Thomas,
A Doctor Voice,
Antland Productions,
and Martha Yes You Can. Look, you can hire us to do stuff for your home studio. I mean, if you don't understand something, if you really want to help with setup, you can hire us. And we both have different websites. I'm at homevoiceoverstudio.com, and check out what I've got there. George is over at
GeorgeThe.tech, and I'm offering that coupon code VOBSFan 2022 for any scheduled sessions such as one-on-ones and webinars.
Heck, I'm going to use that coupon. Oh, wait a second.
You don't need to.
I don't need to. I know all this stuff. We need to thank our sponsors, of course, Harlan Hogan's Voiceover Essentials.
VoiceOver Extra.
I'm glad you remembered that. Source Elements.
VOHeroes.com.
VoiceActorWebsites.com.
JMC Demos.
And our new sponsor, worldvoices.org, the Industry Association of Freelance Voice Talent. Join, because I told you to, and you trust me, I think. Also, thank you to Jeff Holman, doing a great job in the chat room tonight, getting all those questions in to us and our guests. Sue Merlino, thank you so much for getting it done tonight and pushing all those buttons in the right place most of the time. And, of course, Lee Penny, just for being Lee Penny. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. You know, whatever you try to do in voiceover, it's about performance and it's about, getting everything lined up with your business. But if it comes down to sound, if it sounds good,
it is good.
I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
Or VOBS. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Tech Talk. We'll see you next week.